Click, buy, deliver. With remote purchasing from the 2-time Motorcycle News Dealer of the Year, Colchester Kawasaki. Proud sponsors of Chasin the Racin.
3, 2, 1, and welcome back to Chasing the Racing 100, episode 113, and we're delighted to be joined by fellow Geordie, Baz Teasdale, for the second time on Chasing the Racing, but the first time in the studio.
When was the first episode?
Well, I think it was, episode 16?
No,
17 or something? It was.
Do not bullshit us. Don't you say you think. You know fine well. Before you came on the show, you're like, I'm just going to double check your number before I get on. There you go.
If you remember, when we had Barry on, it was after that huge crash at Silverstone, the one with you and Paul Mclean.
Yeah. And no, I'd done the first one, sitting in my bedroom with my iPad with 2 broken arms.
Jesus, hold on. Who was the ramp again? You were the ramp?
I was the ramp,
Fuck. Yeah, Grace is obviously charged with the editing. We're always going to give her a shout out. You'll have to get that video put on. My God, Jesus.
It always comes back to haunt us, that one.
Okay, we're going to relive this right now. Let's go. We discussed it obviously on the show, but not in great detail with the man himself. So what happened then? Let's go through that.
We're going back all the way back then. It was poor Ben Godfrey knocked me off. I fell off, and then obviously Paul just. But you know, it's like at Silverstone, was it MotoGP, wasn't it? A couple of months later, had exactly the same crash with Davizioso and Quartararo. So when you fall off on the exit there, your bike doesn't really go off the track. You kind of go down the line.
Right.
It's bad because you couldn't have a more wide turn one in the country. But there's loads. I mean, Hutchie had. Do you know Hutchie's horrendous crash with his leg? That happened there in the wet. And
that was at a 600 race, wasn't it?
Yeah, super sport. Yeah.
Well, it was Gowland who ran him over.
That was it.
Yeah.
Aye, very cool.
He basically high-sided in the wet, but the spray was that bad that when you're racing, you don't see anything until the last minute. And he was unfortunately just laid out in the middle of the track. But there's been some horrible accidents there. But
there was one. You used to watch Formula 1 days, and we shouldn't talk about that in a motorbike podcast. But there was a whopper in that today as well.
At that turn.
Yeah.
Oh, was it who
Hamilton smashed Verstappen out the way, and he went like 106. That's flat in a Formula 1 car, 170 mile an hour.
Bloody yeah.
And who won the race?
Hamilton won the race.
It's alright, this goes out next week, so it's not a spoiler alert for anyone.
No, Hamilton won in the end, I think.
How did Hamilton win if he had that massive crash?
He got a penalty and still won. He didn't crash, he just ran Verstappen out of the way.
Okay.
Then he got a penalty for it, and then he still won.
How big of a penalty? What kind of penalty?
A 10-second penalty in the pit lane, I think.
Oh dear. No way.
But that's flat in a car. Like, it's not flat for us, but it's fast enough.
Right, okay, describe to our listeners on a stock 1000 what you're doing going into that corner.
Well, I think you go down on the BMW at the time, it was 5th down the straight. Then now you back to third gear. It's still a 90 mile an hour corner, isn't it?
And was that back to loading the brakes at the same time?
You brake proper into there, like.
So, like you say, when you're going around in a car and you're not even lifting the throttle, it says everything, doesn't it?
And speaking of, do you know, you had the crash with Paul Mclean. I haven't seen much of Paul. I think he took a break from racing, didn't he?
Yeah.
What's he up to these days?
He's got his own fabrication company.
Yeah, Paul started works for himself and stuff now. I think he's doing really well.
And just sort of.
He was actually racing motocross at Schoolhouse Farm, just at Slaley there.
Was it at Schoolhouse where he was?
Yeah.
Because he was entering the seas, but he was like whopping everyone, wasn't he?
Also, as he went to motocross and just jacked in the road racing for now.
Yeah.
Obviously, he went from quite a relatively safe sport, that is tarmac road racing, straight into probably the most brutalisation of motocross. Thought, this is a great retirement idea.
Well, I think Paul and his dad were much like us. Like that crash financially destroyed us for that season, and they were the same. Both them bikes were just in the skip.
Didn't you win?
Sorry, I tell you what. I'll just for people listening, I'll just quickly explain the plan for this episode. So we'll catch up.
There is no plan. Don't listen to Chrissy. Let's
catch up in a second about what your current situation and what's happening at the moment. But we'll also the idea for this episode was a bit of a catch up. So we're going to be discussing the recent BSB World Superbikes MotoGP, looking ahead for Armoy. We've got a bit of this crack from No Limits and CRMC from Cadwell, Estoril 12 Hours. So a bit of a catch up episode on the recent things that's been happening in the racing world. But just as you alluded to there about the funds, this year hasn't really got off to the best start for yourself, has it?
Not for me. It's been an absolute disaster, really. I think the biggest thing for us is because the season starts so late, you end up getting sort of forced into riding before the season's really started, which we're all going and doing No Limits, weren't we, and doing all the endurance racing and doing that, and then it just makes, once the BSB starts, you feel like you're quite away through the season. And then I had a terrible mechanical problems at all, and it's kind of costing thousands to sort the bike out, and then that just puts us.
So you,
because obviously when you meet me dad, obviously
Yeah.
I have good sponsors and stuff that help, but they kind of pay for everything, can they?
No, that's it. But like, you're not a fan of the later stuff. Would you rather just crack on with the British Championship from what is it normally? It's been 2 years of this like late start, hasn't it? So is it normally
April,
end of April,
Yeah.
isn't it?
Well, because I generally don't do much practicing, so the sooner the racing starts, the better. Because you would normally do a little bit of testing before it starts, then just start racing and just that's you for the year.
Yeah.
Where really at the minute you could never have had the whole winter off, could you? You had to start riding at some point.
Aye, so after Alton, you didn't come to
Yeah,
Knock
so
Hill, did you?
we've decided to take a little bit of a break from it all. It's gonna hopefully not be for the rest of the year, but we just need to get my bike sorted and then
Yeah.
hopefully come back. I mean, it doesn't do you any good having a break and not being so you're not as sharp, are you? But I think it needs to happen for.
So you don't do any like this is the part. I'm actually trying to pick away at episode 16. Is that right, Barry?
Yeah.
Episode 16.
Yeah,
You
yeah.
sure it's 16? Right. So episode 16 there. I'm trying to pick through because you had a heavy like motocross career. You know, you probably
Yeah.
went through the ranks and
Yeah.
everything. It's actually a bit of a shock that you don't do much practice.
Well, that was
really.
the hardest thing. I remember when I first come from racing motocross to doing the road bikes was how little you actually ride your bike because it was going from practicing 4 days a week to basically just racing when you race, and that was it.
Right.
But obviously, when you first start club racing, you have 6, 7, 8 races a weekend, so then it was all right.
Aye.
But then by the time you do BSB, when I first started in 2015, you had 1 race. So you'd obviously done a lot more riding back then. I think you'd been stock 600 then, Chrissy, and it was.
Well,
Yeah.
I mean, it must feel a bit weird for you when you used to just like, no, say Scarborough or any of the road racing, you're like on the bike more than you're off it. Where at BSB,
Well, you pay your entry. You want to be.
usually you have 2 sessions a day, don't you?
Yeah,
Sometimes
yeah.
just one.
Yeah.
So it's
Yeah.
It's very sort of spaced out and relaxed over the weekend. But in terms, if for somebody that's starting out and that needs track time, it's not really the place to get good.
Yeah, you have to learn somewhere else, I think, first, because it is hard.
Now, I was about to say, because I remember having a chat with you ages ago, and I think you're going to absolutely hate me for saying this, but I remember you saying to me, if you weren't doing British, you wouldn't...
Yeah, I think once you get there, it's the best thing. It's the best thing ever.
Yeah.
You can go. We've all done no limits endurance. We've done other club racing before, and it's not the same at all, is it? BSB's, especially on a 1000cc bike, it's the best race you get anywhere.
Oh, God, it's the hard... It's definitely the
Well, I
the
think
deep end, like...
This year, it's the deep end. I think this is the hardest it's ever been.
Aye.
Really?
I was looking through the results from Alton Park, and last place on the grid, the lap time was a 39.7, and only 3 or 4 years ago, that would have had your 20th, 21st place on the grid, and that was stone last.
Aye.
Well, Milo Ward was last,
Yeah.
and like he's had top 10s in stock thousand before, and he was last
I
on
mean,
the grid.
you look at even the shootout race. There's some like obviously
Michael
some
Rutter.
top riders. Luke Jones.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
Luke Jones has been on the front row of a superbike. He's topped British superbike sessions before. So it's unbelievable the depth of field. And at Knock Hill there at the weekend, there was times where in like say FP2. From FP, I finished third in FP1, and then I made a few changes to my bike. Went out and did about 10 lap stint, and I was chuffed to bits with the changes we'd made. Like every change that I'd made was a positive change, and I came into the pits and looked at the screen, and I was P14. And the team were like, "Oh, what's up?" And I'm kind of like, "No, it's mint." And they're like, "Well, it's your 14th." So then I had to go out and like scratched and managed to like knock a 10th off and got back up to 5th. But like basically the pace of the person that was like 15th and the person that was P5, they were basically as fast as each other. I think Tim Neve qualified 15th and was battling for the podium in the race. I qualified 8th, and I was, it was just absolutely
It's
mad.
so close, like, isn't it?
Aye.
It's absolutely gutting that you weren't there. Your
I was
local round.
gutted, yeah.
I bet you were.
Especially because it was Knock Hill's our logo one. Like,
It's
it was
surreal when you say that, isn't it?
It wasn't easy not to go,
I bet.
but it had to happen. So
Wait, that's an unfortunate.
Did you not go up to do the Scottish meet
yeah,
there?
I'd been up and done a test and everything a couple of weeks before, and we were bang up for it because they had a Scottish Championship test 3 days before the BSB test that was on,
Aye.
and it was mint. Like, a couple of kids that were wild card in there. There was a couple went all right in the stock 1000 race, and I was like fast in there, mid 49s all day long. But then I just
one of them.
Yeah, it was just one of them things.
Also, I may as well just say a quick, like, what you always get a shout out on the podcast, especially because Christian's on so much. And for those that aren't aware, Barry's sister Nicola is engaged to Christian, so welcoming Christian into the family, Geordie family.
I know. At the end of the year, he's joining the Teasdales.
And I tell you what, I'm not just saying it as well. If you could pick anyone in the paddock to be marrying your sister, it wouldn't be Christian.
He is. Well, I wouldn't be Christian. No, he is one of the nicer ones, to be fair.
He seems to have fit the family well.
Definitely.
He'll be listening to this now, going, "Here we go."
We're just chatting before the pod started, and when I rang Barry today, he was out cycling, and he said, "Oh, Christian's been out this morning as well. 5:30. He rang
in the
up
morning.
saying, 'Oh, do you fancy coming and doing 100 mile
on Sunday?'
100 mile out, 5:30 in the morning.
Jesus, he's definitely the hardest working lad in that paddock, isn't he?
We were talking about it before, and like, I don't think there's anyone on that level with mental toughness and determination. If anybody deserves it, if the people who put in the work in, he's put more work in than anybody else. So
we'll go straight into BSB as we're sort of talking about Christian. He is the man.
Before we go down that route, what's up with this John Deere hat? I can't take my eyes off that bloody thing. You literally look like a bloody caddy for a golfer.
A Rickaby employee. That's what he is.
It's the old Stouff colours, and do you know what? Because I bought the shoes that matched it, and everyone was saying the John Deere.
You are. I tell you what. Let's.
Have you got green shoes?
Green and yellow, the same colours, man.
I tell you what. Have you seen his Colchester Kawasaki interview? No. Like at the end of the game, won the championship, well done, you've done something that people only dream of, well, you know, and everything like that. What was your inspiration? Well, I really wanted these slippers. These 80-pound slippers, right? And these slippers, right? I'd walk by in the shop and I went, you know what? I'm going to win the championship to get those slippers. And I'm just thinking,
do you know I've actually got...
And I've got to be associated, and I'm a nobody, right? I'm fully a nobody, but even that chisels my little bit of ego.
Do you know, last year, because I did have that, I had these slippers before the season started out, and I thought to myself, the first, like, when I win a race, I'll buy them slippers. So I had it in my head, and I've got one for this year as well.
Here we go.
These are even better. Do you know Vivo Barefoot? Just as a thing, I'm not sponsored by them as well, so I'm not plugging a sponsor.
They're like shoes for club feet, don't they?
Well, not club feet. Basically, do you know if you took a picture of most shoes, especially women's shoes, your feet are basically all squished together, and it's like they're not supposed to be like that.
Yeah.
So basically, Vivo Barefoot are like ultra thin, and they're supposed to like basically spread your feet out and use all of your senses in your feet. Yeah. But anyway, they'll
sell well in Middlesbrough.
They've got some. They're ridiculously expensive, but do you know when you just see something that's sort of eating away at you? Yeah. They've got some ones called the Totally Eclipse flip flops, and they're £100, but I really want them, so that's me. That's on the bucket list.
Do you wear socks and sliders?
No.
You're quite a trendy lad. No, he does. But then the mad thing is, it's incredible the people that have actually simulated him, because you know the thing is, right? We're especially motorcycle racers, we're sheep, aren't we? And you think, how do you go fast? How do you go fast? He's top of the pile at the moment, so people's shorts are getting shorter, socks are getting worn with sliders. You know what I mean? It's got to be, isn't it? Yeah. People are doing it.
Well, Andy Reid used to always kick about like that years ago, didn't he?
What's that?
Andy Reid with slides and slippers.
Was he?
Slides and socks.
Oh, he's well above the curve.
I tell you, he's a miss to the paddock, mind. He's hell of a rider. Like
talent-wise,
when we're kids, he's a little bit older than me, but we're on the similar sort of classes on the way through. Yeah. And in terms of talent, he is as talented as anybody that's been at BSB, but he just cannot. When he crashes big, and it's just one of them sports that it's just so unforgiving. But in terms of, just raw ability, he's definitely up there.
Well, it's got to get the better of you hurting yourself all the time.
And financially, it's just you cannot do it, can you?
Which we were at Alton Park there. What lap time has he done on a 600? You were telling us this lap time. No one's got near it.
So the fastest Supersport lap all weekend at Alton was, I think,
Kennedy and Pirrie
with the 39s, or maybe just got into the 38, something like that. I think it was 2016. You can check this on TSL time, and Andy Reid was pole, and I'm pretty sure he did a 1:35.8.
Yeah, well,
like 3 seconds a lap faster than what
at the Alton Park test, I had Graham Gowland there helping us, and they were doing. He said they were doing 36s and Supersport when they were in it. When there was like that year, when he was on the Triumph.
Surely
there was obviously McConnell, him, Sam Lowes.
Surely the bikes and the tyres haven't got any worse over that time. Like,
no way.
You wouldn't have thought so, no.
Everything. And the conditions being mint.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Yeah. So it's like, because that is phenomenal.
Yeah. I mean, there must be a reason why they're not going as
Gotta
fast
be
because like Kennedy and Piri are fast. Like,
Oh my God, they're flying with it. But I tell you what, before we go back to the Christian thing, I'm going to interrupt you yet again. I know we've been asking to get Gowland on the show. He's just been busy with his own family commitments and everything. But how is he? You know, is he working with you? That's great to see.
He's actually been starting to ride again. So
Brilliant.
he's got an old Fireblade and he goes round to Croft, and that's how I ended up getting him to come to Alton with us, because I seen him there riding. I went down to pester the life out of him until he said
Good
that
lad.
he would come, because he is really clever, you know.
Oh God, well, you don't
Really.
get to his stamp without. But no, it's great to hear that he's all right and he's back. You know, back in the sport.
I
in a
mean, it
certain
also
way.
helps that my dad and his dad went to school and they're pals. Like,
Ah,
so.
there we go then. There we go. Fantastic. But I tell you what, we were actually talking about the athletic monster that is the Fat Club owner is Christian Inn.
Yeah.
Your dad's part of the Fat Club, isn't he?
My dad lost loads of weight. He done all this like little boot camp thing after Christmas, and he lost loads of weight on it. Like,
Jesus.
he was over the moon.
Do you do a bit of training with Christian?
Yeah, do a bit, especially when all the gyms were shut. Christian used to have, we built a little gym in his garage, so he used to go around there and train and stuff. But he's an animal on the ski erg as well. So if you want to be embarrassed at anything,
Ski what?
train with Christian. It's like a ski machine.
So do you know the concept too?
I'm glad this is an audible show, because those hand actions are gonna, like that. Like, would you like to do that again? They are.
What's it between you?
No, not a chance. It's like Christian went with car park. There you go. So, this will get my ride. There you go, son. There you go. Stouff.
Do you know concept 2 rotors? They're basically like that, but like a vertical thing.
Oh, by the way, he's mentioned that. Did you hear about his con plan at the beginning of the year? You know, he was basically buying rowers and then doubling the money and pretty much.
They were paying COVID prices for all that stuff.
Oh, he's a COVID villain.
Just say
Bizarre,
I've got that totally wrong, by the way. Andy qualified on a 36.8, not a 35.
That's still very fast on a 600,
is
mate.
still
The
ridiculous.
36 is a good stuff 1,000 lap time.
I tell you what, can we just tell everyone that it was a 35? It'll just get more tongues wagging, wouldn't it? You know what I mean? No such thing as bad publicity. You know,
But
it's
even
like,
superbikes are 34s, 35s, isn't they?
oh my God,
But when you think 36.8, and I'll double check the times from this year, but I'm pretty sure there were 38.
definitely.
So like 2 seconds, it's massive that.
Yeah.
By the way, Super Sport then, there's 34 riders on the grid. At the front there was Andy, Jake Dixon, Luke Stapleford, Kyle Ride, Sam Hornsey, James Rispoli. Out of those, Luke Stapleford's not racing anymore.
Yeah.
Sam Hornsey isn't racing anymore. And James Rispoli's back doing flat track, and I think now isn't he, in the States.
he'll be making good money of that, though.
Possibly.
But he will be, won't he? He will be.
You would assume so.
I'll tell you what, now that we're talking about the Alton Park thing, I tell you what, right? Like, we interviewed Jason O'Halloran straight after that, and the thing is, like Chrissy said on the show, like, we're big fans of, like, Chrissy, but my God, you're talking about his mental toughness. He totally knocked that in the touch at Knockhill. He was getting the wins and everything, but my God, how many laps did he lead? I think he led all laps.
Led everyone by about 4, didn't he?
For God's sake, that was a difficult time at Alton Park for that man,
Yeah, you would think. I think O'Halloran, if he wanted to, probably could have cleared off, couldn't he? I think he was.
You reckon?
I think he was playing a good game there.
At Alton, but Christian's been the most, like, over the both tracks, he's been very consistent, and he does look like he's sort of forced to be. Like, there's Buchan was up there, but then he was down, and then O'Halloran's been up there and down. And
I think it looks like he's made a step up this year. I think.
yeah, definitely. And what's weird, and I guess what everyone's been talking about, is the lack of pace so far from Josh Brooks, reigning champion. Just very. I know he's renowned for not starting the season as fast as what he usually gets up to, but even in the past, he's always been, in solid in the top 10 and getting towards podiums, or maybe picking up a few podiums. But he just, I'm
he doesn't
sure
look like the same rider though, does he? Even when you're watching from trackside, he looks like he's struggling.
Well, I think in the past as well, when things aren't 100% right, he just sort of. He'll just keep working in the background, and he won't like go and ride over the top to like over problems, and that's probably why he's been so successful for such a long time. Because for some people, even if the bike's not right, they'll just bite the screen and try and make it up themselves, which then can lead to crashing and whatever. Where he seems to, like, there was times when he was on, like, say, the tag bike or the McCam's bike, where when it wasn't right, he was just settling away at about 10th, and then all of a sudden he would be back to winning ways. Where at the moment, like you say, he just looks like a different rider, and he clearly isn't happy with something. But then from the team's point of view, it's the same bike as what he was on last year. So I mean, it's a really tricky situation. But class riders always
You would think he'll get back to the front, wouldn't you?
Yeah.
You'd assume he'll suss it out.
Yeah, cream always rises to the top.
Because if you look, the Bridewell hasn't been going very well on Ducati either, has he? Christian's been the standout Ducati.
That's true.
Compared to the other ones.
That is true.
But hold on, is that this episode would have been released by now? So the Tyson one, was it Dave Tyson saying that O'Halloran's automatically into the, what do you call it, the showdown?
They're doing top 8 this year.
Okay.
But because he won all 3 on the same weekend, he's automatically entered.
Apparently they've added a rule: if you do the triple, you're automatically.
Have we actually backed this up with fact?
So
basically, this is the second time we're saying it on air, but we're not sure if it's actual fact.
Basically, if O'Halloran wanted to just leave it until the third last round, he would. But obviously, he wouldn't have many podium credits. But so it's still in his interests to be going out and getting podiums. But he has actually qualified.
Right, okay.
But yeah, it was.
I didn't know that.
Do you know that
race?
race?
Tell Christian. You know what's the next round? Brands. But if he
Just
bangs
to
out all 3,
tell him to pull his finger out and win all 3.
that'd be it. It'd be ideal.
Do you know that
wedding present for himself? They are straight to the showdown.
That race 3 at Knock Hill, my teammate Storm Stacey was battling with Josh Brooks and Kyle Ryde.
That's mental.
Before that round, before the season started, you would probably say Brooks and Ryde would be battling for the lead. You could, that would be a plausible thing to say at Knock Hill, and battling for, I think it was like 16th, 17th, and 18th or something like that. And you just think, how mad's that?
But BSB's like all the classes of BSB at the minute are so close, aren't they? You don't even have to be a little bit off. You've only got to be a little bit off, and you're miles back.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Oh, absolutely! It's unbelievably tight. You just before we started recording, you were saying you wanted to give a shout out to a couple of local lads.
Oh God, wait, hold on. One definitely, Frank O'Bourne. We're talking about the North East here because he had a round at Donington Park, didn't he?
Yeah.
And it's the fact that he's based over not Crook. He's not Crook.
Yeah, I think he is.
No.
Somewhere in County Durham.
It's on the way to Towlow anyway.
Yeah.
So it's like on the way up the hill, the dreaded hill of Towlow, the world of Chicken Charlton. But anyway, his whole family, yet again, same thing. They've chucked every penny. His grandparents have chucked everything from their pension.
Well, I think he come from the British Talent Cup, didn't he?
Mm-hmm.
That's where he
but
went.
then the mad thing is, people go into these programs and you just risk racked off a list of names that you think, well, why aren't they still in the paddock? It's phenomenal. But it's always great to have, because you mentioned another name.
Yeah, James Alderson. He's a lad from County Durham as well.
Bloody
and
hell.
He's a good sort of lad and dad outfit. And him and his dad and his mum just come on their own. They've just got a Mercedes Sprinter van, pop up on it. And I don't know whether he was on the podium at Oldham, but he was on pole at Donington Park.
He got his first race win at Donington at the World Superbike meet. I want to give him a special shout out as well, because he's been plugging away for years and years and years, and they've just stuck with it. The family team, they run a Triumph, and they just he's way too big to be riding a 600, but he's just kept plugging.
Big is he then?
He's big lad.
Oh, yeah.
Kept plugging, and he's eventually got his reward. But unfortunately, after he won, I think it was the first race, he actually had a high side coming out of Goddard's and smashed his shoulder up. So he's just had an operation on his shoulder. So he's going to be out for a good couple, maybe a few months or whatever. Yeah. But even so, it's really nice to see him eventually get that race win, because the No Limits meetings, he's religiously at them. He's put as much work as anybody in. He did really well. Do you know when you were racing at Croft? I think he won all 3 races.
He was unreal that weekend. He was making me panic. He made me pull my finger out.
Well, on a stock 600,
the lap times he was doing 22s on Croft on a stock 600.
Aye, and on exactly, and that's
fast
shifting in it. Yeah, absolutely unreal.
Well, Luke Hopkins was only doing 21.8, 21.9, and he was doing a 22.6 or 7 on a stock 600.
He's stepped up. I tell you what, before we leave the stock 600, another lad who's chasing him is that Joe. Who's it? Joe Talbot even. Who's he then? Where's he from?
He won the Super Teens a few years ago. He did a real good year on the stock 600 last year, building up. Him and his family put a hell of a lot of money and time and effort into it. A lot of testing, over in Spain. They're at every club race meeting, a real tidy bike, and building nicely. He's another one in that sort of front group that there's about 6 of them that can win races. I think it's Dixon. He's won a few.
Yeah.
Nixon.
Yeah.
Nixon's won a few. I think he's leading the championship. McManus has been up there, and I think he's maybe won a race or podiums. There's that front group basically.
Yeah.
George Stanley's in it. There's loads of them.
The
George is fast. He's been he's obviously been in stock 1,000 before. He'd done a couple of years at that and then went back down, didn't he?
I tell you what,
I mean, George is a talented rider.
what makes me laugh about the game, shall we say, is everyone's kind of doing the same thing, but you have to do it. Like, the social media is absolutely on point. You don't actually have to watch a race anymore. Like TSL timing.
Yeah.
You just flick your phone up and it's like, I put my phone on. Crowe was second around No Limits and Anglesey there, and he was banging out 108s. Flick my phone on again, and there's that Joe Talbot. He's banging out a 108 on a 600, and you think, you're just like, Jesus, web. And then you think, right, I'm going to have to go deeper. And you look at the times, man, you just think, geez, but what a weekend to be flying around on bikes. And what were you doing this weekend?
Yeah, cycling, and that's the only thing I've done this weekend.
What about you?
Just catching up on paperwork and just lying in the sun most of the time, to be honest.
Living the dream, the dream.
To be fair, I did do a 12k run yesterday in the sunshine, so
Nice.
I kind of not all relaxing.
Fucking athletes, man. Athletes, you got to love it. There you go.
Can I just say a quick shout out? You mentioned Franco Bourne. He's also mentored by Boasty. Boasty's very much involved in him, so shout out to Boasty. And he's doing a great job just bringing him through, keeping his expectations sort of, because that's a big thing in Stock 600. It's a big step up from like either the Motorstar class or even from club racing. It's very easy to get disheartened, so it's to having like a mentor like that, I would say, is a big advantage.
Obviously, Boasty, as well as living in Crook, you're never going to, you know what I mean? You're definitely planted to the ground, and the lad's only going to go one way, and that's up, isn't it? It really is.
Also, we mentioned about James Alderson. He's also sponsored by NGK, so shout out to Paul Wheatley for that one.
Oh, fucking, he's good, isn't he? Do you want to mention Stouff one more? You have there. You know, just chuck that straight in the pot. There you go.
You've got to keep the sponsors happy, John.
You've got to, haven't you? But I tell you what, I was been working my arse off all weekend. To be fair, I was down at the Dock and Dogger, down in just outside of Doncaster. He's trying to keep a straight face.
Is that actually a pub name?
No, it's not a pub. It's a club. I've actually joined the club.
The Dog and...
Is it a dog?
No, the Docking Doggers.
Right. Is
Honestly,
this what's in your bag?
No, I kid you. No, actually, no, I tell you what, honestly, they've actually come with a present, and it's actually perfectly timed because this lad opposite us, what's his race logo?
Oh, yeah, the Newcastle Brown Ale sign.
That is from the Dock and Doggers. There you go.
The best thing is, though, Chrissy,
They haven't forgotten you, princess.
Lovely.
It's absolutely ideal.
On that note, do you want a rich energy or do you want a crack?
Do you want a rich energy? Jesus.
It's Sunday. I'm off work tomorrow. I'll have a Newcastle.
Would you like a brown ale?
Yeah,
Look at that. I'll open it with my NGK bottle opener here. So yeah, there you are. So the Dock and Dogger's been working their asses off down there. It's just mint crack.
Since I'm not going to Brands Hatch anymore, I've got loads of holidays
There
to
you
use
go,
from work,
son.
so I'm
There
off
you
tomorrow.
go. There you go. Fantastic. Absolutely fantastic. So no, that's what you get when you graft your arse off. But no, there are a couple of podcast fans, and there you go. It's a legitimate club to be a part of, and it's where places go to drink. Yeah, cheers, lad. There you go. Bottle of dog. Bottle of, it's wasted on you. Have you ever tried it?
No. I don't.
Would you like to try it? Go on.
Go on. Thank you.
Straight off the
Chrissy's
bat.
a hardcore non-drinker, aren't you?
I
used to. So years ago,
Oh my god. That's
before I
beautiful.
used to actually get hungover, I used to see Chrissy out all the time in Newcastle. But you would never be drinking, would you?
No, I would always take the van.
You know, I know a guy like that. He was called Ted Bundy.
That's why you had the van, wasn't
You
it?
know what I mean? Nice hair, nice suit.
Yeah.
They are. Do you want to help us out with this sofa? Love?
Can I tell you? I'll tell you something about that, right? Because there's been a few
I'm not
weekends.
guilty.
There's been a few weekends where we've been like bank holiday weekends where we've been racing at like say Cadwell or something, and then we'll race home, get straight out on the big market, and I'll bump into Barry and his mates. And we've both been racing that weekend, and just a little thing about. Like a little shout out for this, because when we first started, that was happening. I was in stock 600 and you were in stock 1000, and you were with like your mates and that, and you always like massively bigged me up, and he was never the big I am.
trying to get a lift home from
you. It was never the big I am in front of his mates. He was always like, I was only like 18 or whatever at the time, and you always would say like, like you're just very nice in front of your mates and that, and
He is from Pruddy, you know. They're giggly drunks. They're fantastic from Pruddy.
Well, Chrissy, you'd only just won the Triumph Triple Challenge, hadn't you? And then
it was around that sort of time. It's years ago now. I don't really think about it, but mad. Right,
I can't go out drinking anymore.
Can you not?
Too hungover now.
I've never had that problem.
You'd never had that problem. My God, there we go. So anyway, we've gone from Dock and Doggers to straight into that, and where we're going from there.
We'll just quickly tidy up the BSB stuff. So
Yes.
At the moment, obviously, Christian leads the championship. It's getting quite tight. Like we said, there's a few
Of
that
course,
have...
Jason O'Halloran crashed, didn't he?
Yeah, to be fair, Jason's never been on the podium at Knockhill.
Yeah. I also think he said he fell off every time he's been there as well, hasn't he? So he kept that tradition going.
But no, but you got, like you say, you got the podium and stuff like that, and then Danny Buchan, he seems like that's the
him and
first time...
Skinner were the two surprises, I think. Well, Skinner's not really a surprise at Knockhill, is he? But
he was.
He led that one of the races for a long time,
Aye,
and he looked very, very, very good, didn't he?
Where was Buchan?
Buchan had a really good weekend. He did the double on Sunday, didn't he?
Yeah.
He's stepped. I tell you what, as far as BMW are concerned, he's probably stepped up. And another thing to mention, as far as BMW is stepping up, Hickman, he's come out like, you know what I mean? What podiums? He has had a podium, hasn't he?
I don't know.
But he's always been in the battle. He's always been in the front
I
three.
tell you what, I wouldn't have fancied going through turn one in neutral like he did.
Did you see that on board?
Not the onboard.
Oh
my God.
I'll show you on my phone. I'll get Grace to put this on the thing, but basically he was going flying into turn one, hit a false neutral, and you see it in slow motion, so you think it's not that bad.
I bet it wasn't slow
Well, he went
motion.
over the top then, he had to smash through the sponsor barriers.
I tell you what a dream for Ben. Was it the Bennett's?
I don't know which one he smashed through, but...
Oh.
Have you ever smashed through one? Have you ever had to ride through one before?
I'm not one of those. Have you?
Yeah. Once before, Brandt Hatch.
Really?
Yeah.
There must be a
Were
tolerance
you just
in them
waiting
to
to
break,
think there's
though.
like a hay bale in it or something?
But
So you're like flying towards it and you've got no idea what's in it. You
wonder
just
if-
have to just hang on, hit it.
I wonder if they'll put them there in the future. You know,
Well,
it's a
you're right,
risk.
they just smash through them, don't you? They just,
but in
they're
the
just
same
made
breath,
of
though,
polystyrene.
the health and safety bollocks of a world that we live in now, which would be a damn shame, to be fair, solely because they need them there for sponsorship to keep the events going. But the price can wave a bit got jammed in a wheel. Blah, blah, blah.
Watch this. So it's I'll get Grace to put this on. So on board, false neutral there, sits it up.
Quattro.
And then watch how fast the riders come underneath him here.
Jesus wept.
It's unreal, that, isn't it? So he was lucky to stay on that one, but to be fair, he's doing really well.
Yeah, he is. He seems to. They've all seen the BMWs. I think have started to improve, haven't they?
Definitely,
Because like in stock thousands, this BMW's going a lot better than
it has been.
last year. That new BMW wasn't that good, was it? And then it seems to be now. Well, so it's probably you win the championship on it, but nobody else was going fast on them with it, apart from myself. You know, all of the rest of the people who jumped on them weren't. Where now it seems to be.
But hold on, who's doing it in stock 1000 on the BM?
Well, Allen, I think's been the biggest surprise because not to say David Allen's not a top rider, but you would never have had him right at the front, would you?
He was
When
on
you look at
pole.
he was unreal. He was amazing.
Not only was he on pole, he was in the gravel trap. Apparently, he was coughing up like a pebble or something like that. What's all this about? It was something on the commentary team, and they said like he was getting the old Heimlich in the side of the gravel trap. You know, Jesus wept. You're like, was this? Have you heard the same story I have? Basically, it was through the commentary. This is second-hand. This is now third-hand information from the BSB commentary team. That the fact that it's just.
So it was on Fred Clark's Facebook. So
Jesus.
it's basically when he'd crashed at coming out the chicane, I think it was. I think he snapped his wrist or he's hurt himself anyway. But I think he got a bit of gravel in his windpipes, and one of the medics ran on and did the old Heimlich manoeuvre and got it out. Sort of
Crushing's bad enough. Never
saved
mind
his life.
choking when you've finished.
Can I
Well,
just
you
say
just
though,
think you're winded, wouldn't you? Like, you know what I mean? If you hit the ground like that, you're like, oh, Jesus.
for that split second though, imagine how terrifying it would be if you got up from a crash and you couldn't breathe.
Yeah.
And like,
Because you know when you're winded, don't you? When you're not.
You sound like a deflated whoopee cushion, don't you?
terrifying. But I'm glad to see he was okay. But yeah, he's had a mega strong start this season, riding brilliantly. Superstock's so competitive this year. It's like it's.
But he's on the
unreal,
BM,
really.
like you're saying, he's on the BM, and he's just come out because he was on the Aprilias before that.
He's been on all kinds. He was on the Ian Newton Aprilia. Then
I've seen him on a Suzuki and stuff.
Michael Dunlop put him on a Suzuki for a bit.
Yeah.
But speaking of the BMWs and superbikes, some seem to really gel.
Yeah, well, Hickman and Buchan seem to be flying. Don't
Yeah,
they?
and Andy Irwin seems to be really struggling, and also Kyle Ryde. So it's like a bit of a split at the moment. Bradley Ray seems to be doing he was in that sort of leading group all weekend, and we haven't seen Forres yet because Forres damaged his scaphoid.
Yeah, but
I don't know what was
on.
funny about that, because he wanted to race, didn't he? And they said he couldn't. Well, he rode the 12-hour Estoril.
He was straight up. Yeah,
so there clearly was nothing. There was clearly nothing wrong with his race.
He's in the factory BMW team at Estoril. He's straight there.
So I know we're going to talk about that later, but
we're talking about it now.
They came through like he was flying.
He rode in the 12-hour.
Yeah, and he had a broken scaphoid. Is he
so
Spanish?
There's clearly not that. It's clearly not that bad an injury if you can
do 12-hour
race.
How many?
You know what them endurance races are like? The 3 hours are enough.
I know, bloody, that's unbelievable. I don't really know that much about the endurance race. I know Joe Ackroyd was there with the British endurance team. What was the result of was there any like big talking points? Or?
Well, I know Sylvain Gintoli's team, whatever that factory, so they had an absolutely massive crash. Is it Javier Simeon? He crashed it. I don't know if you rode at Estoril before. I've seen it on the Noah, but when you watch it on the TV, you come down seemed like a massive long straight and like a really tight hairpin at the end, and he just smashed into the back of a slower rider. When they fixed the bike and got back out again.
Jesus.
One of the most impressive things about watching the endurance race is how quick they can fix things. They've got everything in like sub-assemblies, so they come in and they just...
Well, I had a documentary, didn't they, a few years ago about the Honda team.
Oh, the TT Legends program. That was one of the best programs they ever did.
Where can you watch that?
YouTube? I think it's on BooTube, something like that.
Try it.
It's very good because there's a bit on there where it shows you them practicing, changing the parts, doesn't
it? It is unreal. You know, it'd be a great... I tell you what, I need a job change. I'm sick of cutting trees, desperate. If there's any endurance teams that just need a pit bitch that can chuck tyres around, you know, I can chuck trees. I can chuck tyres.
I think it's some pressure. I wouldn't want that.
I know.
You know, for us as riders.
I would like to ride in it, but I wouldn't
definitely.
fancy being in the team. Speaking of that sort of like practicing changing things with sub-assemblies, I was actually on the phone to Captain Kawasaki not long ago. He was saying later on in the year they were planning on doing some endurance races.
They were going to do the Le Mans 24-hour and everything.
Well, they were going to enter one of the British rounds and like do some pretendy crashes so they could come in and practice changing the
Do you
wheel.
know Chris Platt, who he rides with? I don't think you need to pretend to crash when Platty's riding the bike.
He's
the only person that nobody can crash a motorbike like him. At Alton Park, one of the 3-hour ones, he crashed 4 times in a 3-hour race.
Do you know what happened?
So he got on Craig's bike and crashed that as well.
Do you know what happened to him when he got his head stuck in between?
That was one of the worst things I've ever seen.
Yeah, this was at Alton Park. Talk us through that.
They had to let the tyre down and they still couldn't get his head out.
Somebody crashed in the back of him going into Hislop's chicane, and his head got stuck in between the rear subframe.
He got sucked round. He was behind the wheel. Like where the shock is, his helmet was in there.
Where the shock
What helmet does he wear?
An RI.
But
I think there was rumours going around the paddock that he'd been killed and all sorts of stuff because it was that bad.
Imagine crashing and then do you know when you stop sliding and you think, right, I'll get on my feet, and then not being able to get your head out, just seeing a rear shock there for 30, was it about 30 minutes?
He was stuck for ages. They could not get, they had to take the back wheel out of the bike in the end to get him out. They had to come with bits and take the bike apart to get him out.
Aye. Unreal. And speaking of crashes, you've just told us about this.
Yeah, well, I think Craig, our good friend Captain Kawasaki's had a big one. He's had a bad weekend at Anglesey, so I know he got knocked off in practice and then got knocked off again in the race.
Oh, for God's sake! Because he's just come back from I was about to say he's come back from an injury.
Well, trying to ride a mountain bike, guy.
I'm trying to ride a bloody mountain bike of all things. You know what I mean? But it's no, he's definitely because he goes down, sees Aidan down in Doncaster there. You know, he puts the effort in to go do what we all love doing, that's racing bikes. But no, he's 2 crashes then.
Not even the same day. And obviously, I don't know if you've seen Craig's helmet, but some of the
steady on. It's a family show, Barry. You know.
But me and Chrissy have definitely seen all 3 of them. But both of them are absolutely written off. Like, it's one of his new ones, nice Scott Russell replica thing.
I was about to say, because he had Paint
Nation.
Nation,
and they're beautiful.
Oh, Jesus.
Oh, and everybody knows when you get a nice helmet, you never want to knock them, do you?
No,
especially twice when it's not your fault as well. Once in a weekend is like you're kicking yourself, but twice not your fault. And also, Baz was telling us where he crashed. I haven't been Anglesey in 10 years now, but that corner where he crashed is one of the fastest in the country. Flat out right-hander before you brake for the left-hand hairpin up the hill, and someone took him out.
In that right. So you've gone round church.
I don't know what I call it. Yeah, and then you go down the sort of what would be the back straight, but then it's not really straight, is it? It kind of kinks high.
Took him out there.
Yeah. His bike's absolutely destroyed.
He got airlifted as well.
That is absolutely flat. That is beyond fast.
Yeah. Well, it normally takes a lot of red flag one of them endurance races, and I think they red flagged them like.
Jesus.
I know Captain will be listening, so sending our best wishes to him, and hopefully he'll be back on two wheels in no time. But
it makes a change for them for it to be him falling off rather than Platty, like.
Oh no, between them they've done. But no, when you think
It's a good thing he works at Kawasaki anyway. There you are.
It's one thing when you're crashing, it's your fault, and you're like you're gutted, but you can you do accept it. But when it's not your fault, God,
Well, them endurances are wild for that sort of. For me and you've nearly been caught up in one before.
I know.
I mean, the mint crack, but there's a lot of like.
Oh God, it's sketchy.
Your sponsor Lloyd, isn't it?
Yeah.
Lee borrowed his bike at the beginning of the year and wrote that off big time.
Jesus, that wasn't even. That was just out of the blue kind of crash. It wasn't like you know when you say it wasn't like it wasn't his fault. It really, to be honest, it really wasn't. If you know what I mean, it was just he came out nothing naughty, nothing fancy, nothing. Wow, and it was just like Jesus wept.
Is Lloyd racing at the moment?
So. Lloyd always has a big summer holiday in the middle of the year, so he's away at the minute. But as soon as he's back, I think
he away?
we're going to do more of the no limits endurances. I think, just so that I can keep riding, because I don't want to obviously not ride my motorbike. So try and do a few more of them. I think because they are good crack, to be fair.
Oh, the mint crack.
And it's kind of a bit more like a relaxed environment than BSB in it. I know we all try to enjoy ourselves, but sometimes when it's not going your way, it's not nice, is it? Because you put a lot of pressure on yourself.
We're just talking earlier about you were saying about your tyre bill at Alton Park divided by the number of laps. Roughly, what was your tyre bill?
Well, I broke down in every session, and my tyre bill was £2,300, and I think I'd done 25 laps, so that's nearly £100 a lap.
Just on tyres.
Just on tyres, and your fuel, entry fee, and then all the parts that were needed.
God, it is.
The only session I finished without anything happening was that LCQ race that I didn't really want to be in the first place.
It's an unforgiving sport at times, isn't it?
Yeah, definitely.
It's difficult.
And obviously because it's so competitive, it seems worse as well. Because like straight away you're like right at the back.
My God, that is. I tell you what, it can almost sicken you off the sport, can't it? You know when you think of it.
Well, one of my mates, Ashley Beach, he's starting to go mint again. He went faster than he's ever went at Alton Park, found about another like 0.7 of his PB, and he was still 22nd, 23rd.
I tell you what, do you know what I feel a bit sorry for anyone that's, do you know when you like sort of stepping up from stock 600 and because you know you could be stepping up, you could be doing a mega job for your first time on 1,000, and you like you could genuinely be doing really well and be 30th, couldn't you? At the end of the day, and it's just got to be so disheartening sort of seeing that. But it's it's
well, I think like Ben Luxton, who was the stock 600 champion,
and
is like he shouldn't really be finishing where he is.
Where's it? He'll be around like in the mid-20s, is he? Something like
that?
I
think he was only just like he was like pushing back where we were at Alton, like 30th and stuff. But he's a better rider than that. It's just so competitive.
He's the stock 600 champion on one of the best bikes as well.
Yeah.
So
I mean, I think he will figure it out, but
definitely.
But it just seems worse because it's so fast.
Absolutely, the depth of field's massive in it.
If you could put a pin on it,
he's got this 25, 30 British people who've been on a podium. It's in some class or another in a British Championship race.
My God,
I was talking to Braden Elliott about that because he was on the podium at Alton last year and he was like riding pretty decent. And same again at Knockhill. You turn up at a club race, like say a no limits meeting, and Braden would be winning it. And you'd watch it and you'd just think that he is on the limit. Like if I'm watching trackside, I just think, how can you go better than that? You're like braking, back wheels off the air, you're locked sideways, just get it stopped for the corner. He qualified 19th.
Well, pretty much anyone on that grid would win a club race anywhere in the UK, really.
It's mega competitive. But
if you could put a pin on it, why in the last 2 years has it just gone from?
I think it's just because there's not enough room in Superbike for everybody, is there? I think that's the top and bottom of it all. There isn't enough seats in Superbike for everybody who's fast in Superstock. You're a prime example of that, Christy. The fact that like you're the reigning champion out of stock 1,000, but then there's not the right stepping stones, is that to get there?
Yeah.
No, it's
so
interesting.
then you've that because if you look at the front of super stock now, you've been in Superbike before. Mossy,
Billy,
Taylor,
Tom
Neve. There's a lot of people
Alex
who've
Olsen,
been even
Keith
go
Farmer.
right back. Tom Tunstall's been in Superbike.
Alex Olsen, Keith Farmer. There's a big chunk, isn't there? And then
How did Keith get on over the weekend?
Keith,
because he broke his pelvis there last year.
He had a horrendous crash. His legs were so bad.
Both legs, was it?
Yeah.
Well, that was bad. So obviously, as you know, my sister goes out with Christian, but they both broke their legs that weekend.
Oh, Jesus, of course.
So then we had to drive back to meet people. Yeah, 2019. We had to drive back and meet because nobody could drive all the camper vans home. So there's only Keith and his girlfriend there with his camper. Then Christian and my sister with his camper van. And then everybody's got all their other vehicles.
Holy crap.
But Keith's very last minute sort of team setup. So Ian Moffat, who I used to ride for a few years ago, along with Morello, who I used to ride with a few years ago, and CPD, all three of them weren't racing this year, and Ian Moffat's kind of put it together. And from what I believe, Chris Cunningham, I think it is, isn't it?
Yeah.
Chris from CPD, and Steve from Morello have kind of financially backed it. And they've done a hell of a job to turn it around in such a short space of time. Big Arctic lorry, the bikes look mint, really well presented. And Keith's coming on well. I think he's been in the top 10 in all the races so far. And like what we're just saying, it's so competitive. But in terms of the lap times and how he's riding it, he's doing really well.
Yeah. It's good to see Keith shouldn't be not on the grid, should he?
No.
Really?
No.
That's the thing, isn't it? That is the thing.
Anyway, I think we've... just a quick shout out to Brad Perry as well. He did the double on Supersport, so well done to him. He's riding really well. And is any other quick shout outs before? Casey O'Gorman had a big crash. We were actually planned to get Casey on the podcast with Shaky, but he had a huge crash and ended up in Dundee Hospital, I think it was. So hopefully he's okay. And any other...
I'm going to give a shout out to Ben Tolliday. He's at the back of Supersport at the moment, but you know what? He's getting faster every time he goes out. He's at the back. He's plugging away. Yorkshire lad. His bikes look at like a Bruiser Chewy bar. It looks a bit ridiculous, but you know what? Big shout out, Ben. Keep plugging away, lad. You're the man. You really are. Who else can I think of?
And then over to, because we quickly mentioned it about Anglesey, the No Limits meeting. Other than Craig's crash, do you know who won the endurance race?
No, I don't.
I haven't.
Nah,
do you know?
I genuinely don't know who won. But it's
Gary
usually,
Trevor Johnson?
I was going to say that
No,
usually is that team are at the front, aren't they?
While you're talking, I'll quickly get up.
Delkovic, yeah.
Yeah.
Gary Johnson is his merry band of brothers there.
What is Delkovic? Is that
Are there a shop, aren't there?
Are there?
Are there not a shop? Yeah,
Oh, right.
somewhere. Because I know they had a lot to do with the motocross years ago. They always ran a team there as well.
Right,
Nice.
and then I know RC Express and Josh
Well,
Daly. That's terrible.
I think ADSS Kawasaki were up there until
Fourth.
Watson fell off.
Of course it was. I think they finished fourth.
Well, they didn't finish, did they? Though?
Well, the red flagged it, but no, on the results sheet that I was looking at, it was currently fourth at the time. There you go.
I think
Don't kick a man while he's down,
I think
for God's sake.
we might as well give Darren Fry and Ricky Holden a shout out because I think they were fifth, and that's their best result they've had for a long
There
time.
you go. There you go. It
So obviously
was.
Darren runs FS3 team, and Darren was fast
Right.
back in the day. He won the Ducati Cup, didn't he?
Yeah, he did, yeah.
Bloody hell.
That's the
Hey.
F out of FS3. Speaking of FS3, I know we did mention it though. Rory Skinner was a massive step forward. I know he tests a lot of knock-hill, so we were kind of expecting him to be competitive.
Well, I've
but
been up there for the Scottish Championship test, and he was unreal.
yeah, to still be to lead all them races. I mean, is he about 19?
Yeah.
Yeah. So in terms of like youngsters coming through, if you look at say MotoGP, the average age of the say top 6 would be early 20s. Where if you look at the top 6 of BSB, though the average age is probably around the 30 mark.
Yeah.
It's a lot higher than in MotoGP. So the likes of Rory Skinner is kind of bringing the average age down quite a lot.
Not only that, the thing about this sport sometimes it's not just about being fast on a motorcycle, but Rory Skinner actually ticks all the boxes on that side. When they put a microphone in front of him, he's polite, he's well spoken. You think, here we go, Scotsman, we're not going to be able to understand. You just think the lad's got a future without a doubt.
Yeah.
And he's forward thinking and what a proper Radji style. I love it. It's smooth.
Yeah,
it's
he's a good rider,
elbows.
isn't he?
It's how they all say you can't ride a big bike like a super sport.
Yeah.
He seems to be bringing
He
that
seems to
in
be.
the middle.
Yeah.
Now, like I say, the next round's going to prove that.
Yeah.
Isn't it?
Yeah.
Now I'm saying that I've never been round Brands. First time I ever went there was last year to watch him, and that track I don't know how much different that is compared to not.
It can't get any more different though.
Like physically causes differences, but at the end of the day it's still tarmac, isn't it? So it'll be interesting to see.
But
how
I think Brands is. You've got to ride it more like 1,000cc bike on there.
Right.
I always remember when you started, Chrissy, in stock vowels, and you rode it like a 600, didn't you?
Aye.
And you eventually have to learn to not ride the bikes like that.
Yeah.
Because you were a hell of a 600 pilot. So what was your adaptation
I wasn't.
like?
I only done 1 year on a 600. I was
But
awful.
you kept mopping up. Bloody
I
hell!
won Thundersport
Shut
and
up,
stuff.
man! You
I
weren't
won
awful. Piss
Thundersport
off.
stuff, but I was always too like. I got on 1,000 probably too early. when I first started, because I only done, how many races have you got to do? Get rid of your orange bib. I think I'd done that many and one more, and then got 1,000 straight away.
You were out your bib well before, like, it was our first year. Like, we started saying that you were out your orange bib, and I think you were in British before I got out of mine. You know what I mean? Fucking
I was quite lucky. We'd done a lot of riding when I started.
Bang. I was like, fuck.
Do you know the point I was just making about if you watch, say, Braden Elliott at a No Limits meeting, I know you've had exactly the same thing where, like, people have watched you at Croft and come to see you and been like...
I once had a marshal ask us at Croft about why I don't try that hard at the British Championship, because I'd won a club race at Croft by 25 seconds or whatever, and he said, why don't you try as hard as what you do with the British? Because he thought I was going at the British Championship and plodding around, because I'm like mid-pack.
My God, I tell you what, the one thing I'll never forget as long as I goddamn live, you in the front, James Count in the middle, and I was behind, and all three of us went round in a train round Croft. It was like a damn Croft.
You once passed me in the wet there. I was absolutely gutted.
Oh God! I was trying.
And then he crashed and made a fireball in the middle of the track.
Was that race?
Yeah. I had to ride through a proper fire. There's a photograph of me going through the fire.
That was not a proud moment for me. It was a case of...
We started the race, right, and then I was still riding for Bob Henderson. And he said to me, there's been a fuel spill at turn 1. Don't lead, just go steady through turn 1, and obviously this nugget come flying past, going flat out, and crashed straight away.
And the thing, I had a Monza cap for the TD. We're getting the bike. I bought that bike with two of my best mates, like Stephen Watson, Sean Holiday. So them two put the half in, I put the other half in. We bought this bike off Lee Johnson for like 18.5 grand. Mate, I felled a lot of trees to get this money up to go there. And without Stephen and Holly, I went, right, there's me thinking, this is my year kind of thing. And anyway, so we went there. We had a couple of dries, a couple of like wet sessions. In the wet session, you know, I was down at BSB hair gel wanker here, and I'm going like, I can, you know what? They're having a strip here. So anyway, we had this TT tank made. So turned it from a 17.5 litre tank into a 24 litre tank. We thought, right, let's get prep for the TD. We brimmed the fucker, mate. We absolutely brimmed this 24 litre tank going into the wet race. And it had a Monza cap which sticks up higher. So now the idea behind a Monza cap, it's a push button system that pops the cap open for you, and you can't drop it because it's fastened to it. But because it's raised, that leads into a problem where I quickly found out after this. So I came around, I hit this fuel spill, boof, huge high side, but the first point of contact was this Monza cap. It ripped the Monza cap clean off and melted. I mean, melted our bike to the floor. And the worst thing is, Stephen and Holly were watching on the corner, and this bike was melting to the floor, and I'm going...
It was a proper fireball.
It was just obliterated, absolutely obliterated.
I think that was the first time that I'd seen your name, I think, on social media.
Bell End.
No, there was a GoFundMe page to get that bike back, wasn't there?
I tell you what, it's weird how these conversations... I was meaning to give Anthony Ambler a shout out at the end of the programme, but it was actually Anthony Ambler who said, look, we'll set up a GoFundMe thing. I'm thinking, oh, no. Like, I'll be like, we've all been dragged up the same, haven't we? You just think, right, work for it, get on with it. And he set up this GoFundMe thing, and my God, without that, it would not have been possible at all to get the bike up and going. And we literally just got it going. Like, none of the traction work, none of the anti-wheelie work, nothing worked. We literally got the bike to a point where it fired up and went up. And the first time we rode it was down Bray Hill after a fireball. It was just an absolute Frankenstein bastard of a bike thrown together. And you know what? I got to the bottom of Quarter Bridge and went, yep, it's fine. You know, in my head, even if it wasn't, I said to myself, there's nothing wrong with this bike. It could have been hanging in half. And I just went, I'm just so happy to be here.
Was that not when you did Religion of Sport?
No. It was the following year after that.
Same bike though, Gen 3.
Same bike, but we replaced a few more things after that. Like, got rid of the charcoal off it.
Quick shout out to the endurance. So was it? Am I reading that right? 3 hours?
Yeah.
Was it a 3 hour or 4 hour?
3 hour.
So the winners were Go Racing Developments, which was Andy Carpenter and Kevin Davies. They did 241 laps, and just on the same laps but 20 seconds behind, it was Motorcycle Race Parts.co.uk with Tom Tunstall and Rick Dickinson. So those
Are you looking at the right year?
I think so.
I don't think you are.
I don't think you are.
Well, my eyes are bad, but I'm pretty sure that is today. Have a look at that. Zoom in and see.
That's 2016.
Really?
Is it actually?
It says in big letters at the top.
Yeah, I'll get my glasses on.
You knobber.
2000.
How do you race? You don't wear glasses when you race,
It
do
is
you?
actually 2016.
Can you see
right?
where you're going?
Do you wear glasses? Do you wear contact lenses?
I don't know. I maybe should after this performance.
You know, I tell you what, my dad, right? But as long as I've been alive, here we go. We've got the Assistance LT High Side Limited in the sort. Here we go. Right, Lauren's doing your job for you. There you go. You read that. You can't fucking read, can you? So I don't know why I'm
was
read that, son.
It was. Oh no, I'm not going to qualify.
Yeah, so it was Gary. I can't even say the name. I can read it, but I can't say it.
Delvic Racing.
Delvic, Earnshaws in second, Josh Daly Racing, Aussie Express in third, Give a Duck, number 144 on the 600s.
That's
Fair
good.
play, mind, on the Kawasaki's there. Then ADS were fifth.
Were they?
Yeah, there we are.
I've got
I'm one of them.
Seat and tuning.
Seat and tuning 6. Fifth for ADS. Seat and tuning in 6. FS3 we're in 7th. God, we're gonna be
ADSS were not. They're disqualified for causing the red flag.
Well, according to this screenshot, we're in 5th.
That's as they cross the line, but then this is the results.
There we go. My God, that I tell you what, the grid's awful,
I think
and it's
that
great though, isn't it? It is great.
Earnshaw's motorcycles. That's Jonathan Lodge and his brother Elliot Lodge. They do that on one bike.
And it's good going that now.
Yeah, because the refuel and stuff takes ages in the pit lane, doesn't it?
Aye, it's some good, and they've been leading quite a few of them races and that as well. I tell you what, them two were good pilots. In the
they
day.
were fast at Croft in the endurance.
Especially James Lodge used to be.
It?
James Lodge used to be mega.
They won it, yeah.
Mega on a 125 KRP bike. He was like really tall, really like sort of lanky and skinny. But he was one of the best 125 racers back in the day.
Speaking of 125 races, NG were racing at Cadwell this weekend, right? Daniel Cooper.
Yeah.
Fucking weapon. He doesn't ride thousands anymore. Doesn't do the roads. I think it was a couple of years ago. He openly just went, look, I don't want to do it anymore. Fair enough. But I tell you what, him going round, he was in the open race in the 600. I think he was getting like in the top 3 on a 600. And you think, fuck, that is hooning round there, mate. He was beating Jamie Coward.
He's been on the podium in Supersport before. Done a British Grand Prix on 125.
He won the GP 125 British title years and years ago. Just didn't really click on the 1,000, did he?
No. I mean, he did show a few. He had a few good ones.
Oh, he
in
could ride.
2019. I think he had a 7th or something in one of the races.
He can ride. My God, he could ride the 1,000. But like you say, he's back on this 600 on the Honda as well. You know, they're apparently bringing out a new Honda as well, which is I'm looking forward to seeing that. But no, that lad, like I say, he was beating Jamie Coward on the 1,000. You think, my God, you know, Jamie is extremely far from any mug on a motorcycle whatsoever.
Definitely. Just to quickly round up the CRMC, we were at Cadwell. I know we did briefly discuss it, but you had a real good weekend there, Dom.
Yeah.
Yeah, and won all your races, lap records.
Yeah.
Happy days. Do you want to give? So we on the 350 and the 500.
Yeah. So we're still developing this Yamaha 500, and I tell you what, my God, it was. Harley Rushton and Ant Hart, they were on these TZ 350s, proper GP bikes, and I tell you what, I went off the line in this, like, it's an air-cooled 500, but it's less than 70 brake horsepower, but they used to race in America, and they were pre-72. So, but this is a brand new build of a 72 thing, if you know what I mean. And I tell you what, it's. My God, I've never ridden a bike so angry in my life. The exhaust, it's like twin exhaust. It's a 4-cam overhead, and these exhausts were just a bit too low. I was lifting the rear wheel on both sides. You know, the gooseneck going in like. Lift, and I'm like, there's Anard and Harley behind us going, we left you alone, Dominic. We left you alone in that one. And then they had to pass me on the straights for the one TZ 350s, man, like proper full-on GP things.
Worth mega money, some of them classic bikes.
I can only imagine,
Well, bloody hell, I tell you what, we're gonna have to go. We'll go into this later on in the program, but Ian Locker is at Armoy on one of John Chapman's MV Augustas. Guess how much John Chapman paid for in cash? Because we all love cash. 230,000 euros. An original MV Augusta. What do you call them? Agos. He went to Italy with a duffel bag. Matt, I would love to have been the duffel bag to hold the money.
I was going to say, I would have loved to have seen the lads that went over to get it, go through customs with 230 grand.
But the thing is, right, like, what I love about John Chapman is he has got no bullshit running through his veins whatsoever. You know, when you meet someone who, like, just talks something and you think, you're full of shit, mate, walk on, whatever, not John Chapman. You know, and when he sat down and said, I walked into Italy essentially with a duffel bag with just shy of €250,000 again. I believe you, John.
Yeah.
100% believe you.
What class is Locker going to be riding at Armagh?
So that'll be the open race against Michael Dunlop, who was also on an MV Classic, and, interestingly, Guy Martin on a 750 BSA. Nice. But now that's just the classic side of it. And then
is Guy just doing the classics?
He's just doing the classics. He did the spring cut, no, the Barry Sheen last year. So it's nice to see Guy back in the paddock. Yeah. But even with his qualifying speeds, he still starts in the back. It just shows that he's just there for the love of it, if you know what I mean, rather than thinking, and mind you, he doesn't half hoon his way through the traffic though. He's there for the bite on without it. Oh God,
Did you see Guy was out with the Neves the other day in that rally car?
He stalled the fucker. That was mint crack.
Well, I think we're going to Guy Martin's motocross track for Christian Stag do.
Oh, is it Guy Martin's who owns it?
Yeah.
Right, I didn't know it.
I didn't know
sons of a... I didn't know you owned it.
Yeah.
I tell you what, I'm rubbish at motocross. I'll come, but I'll just tootle about because I'm no good at it.
I think we're all rubbish now.
You say that. You were North East champion, weren't you?
Yeah. George is coming as well.
Yeah. Is he good, is he?
Yeah, George was fast back in the day.
Well, you've converted yours into a flat tracker.
I'll put it back.
You cannot ride it like that, would you?
I'll put it back to motocross.
You'll not be allowed out.
No, to be honest, because I'm a bit of a short arse, it actually helps us because it's a bit the load suspension.
Until he gets faster, this will be the problem. Like, hold on, I was about to say you won't even be given this low kit. By the way, to our listeners, I haven't been invited, so I'll be I'll be on the sidelines watching you lot. That'll be mint crack. That
I think it will be. There's a good group if we're going.
Dom's been getting good at motocross, you know.
You should. I'm riding for Team USA at a team event. Do you know Sugar Tits?
Yeah.
Oh, aye. So Sugar Tits is invited down. I'm riding for Team USA in the B class, mate. The elite class, son. And the elite. And Sugar Tits is coming out of retirement.
Is he?
He's in the B class, and my only ambition is to just go through and look for the shortcut, son. That is literally all I'm gonna do. So, I'm telling you, I love motocross, mate. Absolutely love it.
It's a brutal old sport.
Yeah.
Sugar Tits is young, and who we call Sugar Cube. We've seen a video. He was down in Canada Heights a few weeks ago, and he's actually there when we're at Brands next week. But he showed us this video of him. He basically gets stuck in a rut and crashes. He's on it's an 85 and a small wheel.
85,
but a couple of lads behind him. They see him laying down like that, and just
over.
Aim for him and just run him clean over.
Look at this,
it's just standard stuff, isn't it?
Oh God, and it's like, do you know if your mum was stood there watching, she'd be having kittens, but bless, they're just proper hard as nails. And tell you what, they put some effort and some work in every weekend. They're out somewhere in the country practicing, and he's a great little lad. He's got a great attitude and that.
The thing is, he's very similar to you. If he knows the sacrifices that his family have made, and I think he's, to be blunt, I think he's at that age now. He knows what's going on, but until he realises what's happening. But the thing is, every year he understands a bit more and a bit more. But his attitude's adjusting with that. He's taking it more seriously. He's getting his eye in, and it's great to see, because his dad and his mum don't have a pot to piss in. That is the absolute truth. His dad goes out, works all the hours under the day, and literally that money comes into that and goes straight into diesel, getting to the motor, getting there. And no, it's mint, man. He's a full motocross dad.
I think it's harder for the motocross people now because there's not as many tracks here.
Right.
For a lot, when we were racing all the time, there was loads of local tracks to go to, so you didn't have to do the travelling.
Was I've never actually asked you this. Was Hugh a motocross dad, or was he quite?
100%.
Was he?
Oh, of course he was.
Is he still? He's
when
still
a motocross dad at British Superbike.
Is he fantastic?
Is he, when you come back in the on, he's just stood there with a whip?
No, my dad's smashing, to be fair. Especially
that's
recently.
Years of abuse are telling you that, Barry.
Because we have been struggling. He's actually been quite understanding recently. He hasn't done, I've obviously had moments before.
Yeah.
I had my bike once breaking down, and this was years ago. And obviously I should have just pulled in, but then I kept going flat and crashed it. So then you've obviously then got a repair bill as well. So you get shouted at for that, but...
Deserved.
Yeah, definitely.
All right, there we go. So, where are we off to next?
So we've covered RMC. What about Armagh? So looking ahead at Armagh, and you were out testing, getting ready for the Mini Twin. You mentioned guys there on the classic bike. Michael Dunlop's there on his classic. Is Michael doing the other racing as well?
So he's on. He was riding for DC at Alton Park, and then now he's gone to Cinetic BMW. Now he rode for Cinetic when they were
Tycho.
No, was that last year? Yeah, no, because last year didn't happen. It was the year prior, so it was Tycho. Now, Michael's undefeated round there at the moment in the Open classes, absolutely undefeated. So he's gone back to that team for that event. He's also won his 600s, but I tell you who the person to look out for at Armoy is Adam Mclean. I mean, he is absolutely, you know, the thing about crashing motorcycles in this game is, unfortunately, it is 100% down to one thing. Flip of a coin. It is 100. I don't have to tell you. You got used as a human speed bump. You know what I mean? It is the look of the landing of the coin. And like,
did he have a absolute whopper though? Didn't he?
He did. He did like a Marquez. You know, like absolutely like obliterated his arm, and that was at Tamragee. That in a road race.
It can be luck of the coin, but also if people can take silly risks, can't they?
Oh no, the whole sport's a risk, but in the same breath, you can have a silly or controlled one. You know what I mean? But it's still how you land.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? There's people being permanently disabled from tucking the front of a shitty hairpin.
Aye.
You know, it's literally they've put the leg out. That's gone in under that. And the bones come out. You know, it is every time you fall off a motorcycle, it comes down to the flip of the coin, and that's part of the sport. But Adam Mclean's always been beaten half to death with a shit luck stick when he's been crashing. But I absolutely love his attitude. He just keeps working on it, he keeps gymming on it and everything like that. And he went to Bishop's Court this weekend. He was at Kyrgyzstan the week. That's what I love about the Northern Irish. They just seem to go, we're doing no racing, and then they suddenly just go weekend, and then banging them out. And the Kyrgyzstan, he was looking incredibly strong, but he was all three of them, Alistair Seeley, Michael Dunlop, and Adam Mclean, absolutely fucked off. I mean, in front of this group, when you look at the timers, they're all like 0.3 of a time, like second off each other. You're talking Alistair Seeley here. You know, how many championships has that lad won?
Yeah.
Exactly. You know, and you think...
Well, Michael Dunlop's been going fast on the short circuits more than what he has been over the few years. He was fast at Oldham Park.
Well, that's it, and he's never ever been slow, and he's always had the attitude of, you know, he's just getting prepped for the road, but he does it the right way. It's bike time. But I think from Adam coming, he did Stock 600 with Binch Racing last year. Broke his arm. He's come back and he's looking really strong. Like Mike Brown, he's looking strong. Derek McGee, he's back. You got Paul Jordan, he's kind of been, I don't know where he is. He just kind of keeps jumping up and down. But I tell you what, that grid is looking fast.
Is Adam Mclean doing any British Championship this year?
I don't think he's doing any British, but
it's Binch Racing that's sponsored by Ugly and Co, isn't it?
Yeah. So
quick shout out, because I was talking about Stock 600 riders that were winning. Their riders, Zach Corduroy's actually took a few wins, and he's looking strong as well. It's a cool looking bike, that, isn't it?
Oh no,
I'm just looking at your top
straight over there, a sucker for a free t-shirt. So, I'm still waiting for my Stouff hat though.
They sponsored quite a lot of the lads. Have you seen the branding and that?
Yeah.
They do.
Davey Todd was the first time I seen them.
And Jamie Coward.
Jamie Coward was actually one of the first ones.
Mike's sponsored by them as well, isn't he?
Yeah, Mike's sponsored by them. When it comes Dave Johnson, I mean, like Kyle Ride's sponsored by them. Thing is, he's got the Ugly and Co have got such a great idea. The fact is, they want their product in the right market, and that they're helping and supporting lads, and you think that's the way to do it. Yeah. And it's definitely a brand that's growing rapidly by sheer utter graft. And like you got Alan Towie there, constantly on the road, plugging away like
it's
mad.
Nice case. It looks good, doesn't it?
Yeah,
That's
it's
it.
definitely nice on your Stouff hat.
That's it. I know. You're towing this trailer with a John Deere straight out the back. I'm just gonna go polish his club on my ski machine.
Do you know when you say John Deere, the first person I think of is, can you remember when we went to McGuinness's house and he came out in a full John Deere green? It's like a oversuit.
As far as I can remember, it was immaculately clean as well.
It's like farmer's gear, isn't it?
Oh, good crap. But no, like you say, like even talking about Armoy, the grids, like it's the first. Like, yes, we've had Scarborough's, but that's like it's a one track series kind of thing, if you know what I mean. But like Armoy, it's a one hit. It's the only one.
Would you class Scarborough's a proper road race though as well? As much as it is a road, it's not like the Irish ones, is it?
No, the Irish, you can never ever. There's not a place on goddamn earth that you can replicate Irish road racing until you go there. You know what I mean? And Bill Kennedy, Gina. I mean, the list is bloody endless of everyone who's grafting their arse off there just to get this event up and going, because it wasn't going to go because of limited. Like that was the government decision saying they're going to let 500 spectators in.
Yeah.
It's a public road race. What if, you know? And so now they've upped the numbers, which is great.
Crowe still on the entry list?
I was just about to mention him as well. Crowey's going there. Now,
I can't wait to see that.
He'd be mint on the small roads.
But that's the
When
thing.
the speed's not as high, he'd be mega.
But I tell you what, I'd love to see his telemetry on that BM after. I think it'll just come up in German gun, get off the fuck out. I think it will. Honestly, the thing is, it is.
Is it bumpy?
Beyond bumpy, mate. It's just like, I'm trying to think. You come out the church section, you got the Joey's. Is it the Joey's leaps? Oh god. Anyway, got the Joey's jumps anyway, and it's like literally you ski jump. You go off one, land. Second one, it's a blind left turn, but you're actually off the floor. There's a photo of me off the floor, full pegs, right over the front, waiting for it to land. Joe Lachlan went through that hedge, and he amazingly somehow got back to the paddock and tried to remount a motorcycle. He was head to toe covered in glass, man. It was like, what you doing? And it was just, that place is so bumpy. But then if you make it around that turn, you go down, it's just, like when you're hitting the brake at 300 yards, it is lifting for you.
Yeah.
And just vroom, 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 and it's off camber. You know, every turn is off camber. Bar for like turn 2. So you got start line, you got a chicane. I tell you what, the chicane is no wider than that door. I shit you not. You know, it literally you literally go from. I remember you telling me, Chrissy, like, you know, you get your confidence in the tyres. You can't physically fall. You know, you can't.
Yeah.
You can't turn a tyre quick enough to fall off. That chicane is the perfect test for it. You just brake, and you go. It's just the amount of people that have skittled off into the distance, and it's a drop around about 10-foot drop.
A few quick questions because I know literally nothing about Automotive. Roughly, how long's the lap? Is it like a couple of mile or like lap time? Roughly, like what's a like a half decent lap time?
It's around about, no, I don't know what the lap times are, but I think it's like a 4-mile long lap.
Oh, so it is big.
That's the thing about road racing. I think Scarborough really is the only exception to that being quite short. But even that, you know,
the
you've been to
Cookstown
watch
seems like a short lap as well.
Cookstown, it's like it is good, but it's
tight.
And also, how does so you're going over? Is it a weekend and is it set up
just
like a
Friday, Saturday? Just
Friday,
Friday,
Saturday.
because the Northern Irish, you see, it's the religion. Sunday, you just recover from a hangover.
So is it free practice and qualifying on the Friday, racing Saturday?
Yeah, to be honest, right, in some ways, Irish racing is, in theory, harder than British. You get your 5 laps of practice is your qualifying. 5 laps. If you go there with one bike, you get 5 laps and you're straight into the race. Now, the only thing you can have to remotely get near the front is one thing and one thing only: experience.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? You've just got to go out there, do the homework, and and the mad thing is, if you get stuck with one person on a lap, you are absolutely bollocksed.
What classes are you racing
in? I've got, now unfortunately, me 500, I couldn't get a 500 classic to go race Guy Martin and get, like, I'm not blowing smoke, I don't blow smoke at my arse, Barry, but I tell you what, I've done a lot of CRMC and I mean, I was feeling tasty for that 500 win, I'm not going to lie, but I've got a Nigel Hafe, his provided us a 350 for the junior 350, and then I'm on the Counting 600 and Super Twin, but I'm also in the big bike race on the Counting 600, so I'm looking forward to that. If it's damp and sketchy, the big bikes will come back to me on that.
Is there many 600s in the big bike race?
There are a fair few, to be fair. You know what I mean?
It like, do you know, like, say if I was doing a Alton Park, say, with 600s, on some of the straights, some of the closing speeds would be like massive. Do you not have that problem? Or is there not that long straights?
Come on, no. There's 2, like on the. After the last turn, I mean, there are 2 massive power straights. I mean, 1,000. The thing that upset me was, like, last year, I came away from there and I was doing the same lap times as, like, Derek Shields, Michael Dunlop. Like I was on the pace with them, but my problem was, it took me too long to get going.
Yeah.
And when they came in and said, "But that's your lap time," I'm going, "How the fuck have I done that lap time?" I was by myself. I literally, them Irish lads are
on a straight way.
No, at home in their element, living and breathing it. You know what I mean? And they just. It's just like, you know what I mean, a track day going to stock 1,000. That is, it's their turf, and you know, you're fighting on their rules, and it was just like, this time I've got to get there and really just bite the screen and get straight into it. I can't wait. I'm generally shitting myself now because I want a result. You know what I mean? And like, went to Teesside, and like Neil's built this Super Twin, and like I'm not like, I keep myself bottled in on a bike. I drag and rat, like I'm not an elbow down kind of. I was getting my elbow down round Teesside.
At the go-kart track.
On the go-kart track on a Super Twin. You know what I mean? Like just trying things, and I'm thinking, this thing's fucking meant, and it's just the problem is this is going to go out just before I go, and everyone's going, he's going to fucking win. I'll be at the fucking back.
It's a week before you go in.
I know that'll be the bother, but that's the thing. I just wish they did it more than once.
Have you ever watched, like, say,
I watched loads of the road racing. I love it.
Have you ever watched it?
Have you been to watch?
Fancy to go yourself?
No, I'd never fancied to go. I'm always quite happy stand watching.
What about the?
I used to see Dom all the time at the Northwest 200.
Mm-hmm. Not in the Anchor.
Yeah, and the poor bye.
I'm like, oh God, I thought I was the only Northeast lad here.
I've been to watch the Cookstown before.
Does say the Northwest 200 just doesn't?
No, it doesn't interest us at all. No.
Fair enough.
Which is a good thing.
Not Ramona get the blood raising, son.
No, quite happy watching.
No, there we go then. Very straight off the bat.
Another little thing about Glenn Irwin. Have you seen on Twitter that Glenn's really struggling after having COVID? I'm not sure when he had it, but he's been struggling on the bike at Knockhill big time. And then he put a tweet out saying, has anybody else had COVID recently? And he's I'd say if a good 5k time would be like sort of 18, 19 minutes, he's like 5-6 minutes off and can't go in. Like,
there's a guy I know who races enduro, like motocross enduro, who's fit, and he's absolutely knackered with it.
Knocked for six from it.
Like 6-7 weeks later, he's still
off the thread of Glenn saying it. Loads of people are then tweeting them back saying like that either them or their friends have had very similar similar sort of things. So
get well soon.
That's it. So right on to we've covered everything. Quick MotoGP in the summer break.
Yeah, summer break.
Not a great deal to say other than the big story is kind of where's Vinales going to go. Yeah. I'm not really that closely following. I'm just that busy myself. I'm not that closely following MotoGP. But there's like sort of rumours about Vinales, and there's the whole thing about Dixon in the press. I think MotoGP would have been absolutely buzzing if Dixon had a few podiums at the beginning of the year.
Yeah, I think that's what they were hoping for, weren't they?
It would have answered the problem of the Brit getting a Brit into the Premier class. But
Crutchlow's racing, isn't he? The next few.
Yeah, they're standing in for
Morbidelli.
Morbidelli.
Is that a fact? I saw that floating around. I didn't realise that was actually.
And it's just not happening for Jake at the moment. And they're talking about Jake replacing Rossi in the Petronas team. But if you were just looking at it from if you take the emotion out of it from being British and you're just looking at it as right, we need somebody from Moto2 to replace things. Yeah. You're not gonna.
Yeah, he's definitely jumping the queue, isn't he? I think
hugely jumping the queue, but. I know
he's a nice lad.
A lot of the time
I think we'd all love to see him in it, really.
Yeah, a lot of the time we'll complain about being British and things. If he gets the Petronas ride, it's purely on the fact he's British.
No, I mean he could still turn it round, mate, because he can be a front runner on that championship.
Oh, sure, he's 100%.
It's the same problem that we've got. Obviously another level in stock hours, and he's only a tiny bit off.
Yeah.
And it seems way worse than what it is, doesn't it? Because it's so close. It's easy to be 25th.
And it's really weird as well where some people don't do that well in Moto2. Like Quartararo wasn't anything special at all on Moto2. He was teammates with Danny Kent. A lot of the time Danny Kent was better than him.
And the Suzuki only got one podium, didn't he? And
Exactly. So it's we'll have to see where that goes. But yeah, other than that, Vinales, do you think he's going to go Aprilia or?
You don't know. Do you think if you were the Aprilia boss, you'd rather have Dovi on it?
Yeah. Dovi's not out of it, and is he just testing at the moment?
But probably getting paid a fortune and thoroughly enjoying himself.
Now, if you were Vinales' manager, okay, right, you had the job to replace his manager, because what would you be saying to him now? He's dropped
it's impossible, isn't it? Because he's so up and down. He must be infuriating to ride for, because he does crap on a Sunday, then if I might have a test on the Monday, he's straight to the top. And it's why?
Yeah, there'd be a lot of questions, wouldn't there?
Can you remember when there's been a few people like that where Lorenzo, when he went to Jakarta, nothing was happening, then it clicked and he all of a sudden started doing amazing. But if you
look at Saxon Ring, he was last. Stone last, and then nearly won. Topped every session at Assen, and should have won the race, really.
It's a funny one.
And you don't go I know MotoGP is much tougher than any other class to ride in, isn't it? Yeah. But that's a big difference.
Before this season, I think most people were tipping sort of Miller, Mir, you would say Rins, Morbidelli.
Yeah, Quartararo,
has been the top runners. Morbidelli's been nowhere.
Yeah, but I think his knee injury is bad, though, isn't it? It's a lot worse than what they're kind of letting on. Because when he tripped over, did you see that way he done the bike swap and he stood on and fell over and fell onto his bike? I think his leg is sore.
Right.
Jeez, hold on. Has Marquez had a win? Yes, hasn't
Yeah,
Saxon
won.
ring. That was it. So like the return of the king, eh? Or was it like? How did he get on? Now Saxon ring, then Assen.
Yeah.
Is that right?
He had a monster
Massive crash at Assen.
Did you see that?
Gee, that one, Jesus,
Yeah.
that was bad, wasn't
Yeah.
it? But how was his arm? Is it any news from that?
I think he was all right, apart from the fact he hurt himself. I think.
He still raced pretty decent, didn't he? And
But he had to start right at the back, didn't he? Well, near the back, hasn't he?
Yeah, and he's been out on his motocross fight last few days and stuff. So yeah, he's like a machine, that man.
Yeah.
And
He will find his way back the front, I think.
definitely.
I want to see it. Like, I definitely want to see it.
Right, we've got a few Patreon questions that we'll go through. You've mentioned Ambler, but do you want to give a quick shout out to Mark Reynolds?
Yeah, Mark Reynolds. Yeah, so basically, well, it's kind of coinciding with the Ambler thing. So it's Ambler, like on these Motor pit bikes, trying to replicate like more of a road going bike. So the idea is with motocross being a flat bar, you get like a total different feedback. Your body position's totally different. So what we've done, instead of bar risers, these Ambler's made some forwarders. So the idea is it's over the front of the yoke, out the way, and you're trying to essentially get the elbow down, right, like this pillock a little bit. Trying to adjust, because someone said to me, you'll never change your style of riding, but you can adapt it.
Yeah.
And that's what I'm trying to do, kind of thing. So Ambler, bless him, I've just pestered him. And he's made these clamps that go over the front. They look absolutely class, and they go straight onto a standard Motor front end. And I'm a T-side on Tuesday coming.
Yeah.
So I'm going to give it a go and give that a whirl round. But also, Mark Reynolds, do you run a lap time on your bike?
Yeah.
What lap time do you run?
What's it, AIM?
AIM. Now,
one,
do you run the AIM 2 thing?
Yeah, the new
The new one,
yeah,
right?
Yeah.
Have you noticed there is no protection case with them whatsoever?
Yeah.
Like, basically,
Well, the old ones were like bulletproof, weren't they? They were
Aye,
like
but
in a rubber thing, with the new ones
like glass, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
If you drop them, or if you're in a crash, you're absolutely
Yeah.
scuppered them. So Mark Reynolds has made like the same material as what the GB casings are,
Oh,
you know, the engine cases,
Yeah.
and he's made like a full protection case for them.
They'd be good, because your lap time is always one of the things you need back after you fell off, don't it?
Exactly, that's exactly right. So basically, we've made one. We'll put him on the Instagram later on, and we'll show everyone. But the idea is he's made this lap timer case for it, and it's mint. It's absolutely solid. So hopefully, I don't test that part of the handlebar adjustment. But no, Mark rode out. I was working down in there, funny enough, near Crook, and he actually rode out on the bike and dropped off this what do you call it? Not demo. Anyway, prototype. Thank you very much, lads. Thank you very much. So he's setting off this prototype for me to have a whirl round on and hopefully see how she goes. So thank you very much.
Speaking of Mark as well, he had a big crash at Malibu Park on his road bike. So hopefully,
Obliterated his BM.
Oh, no.
I mean, obliterated his pride.
A
and
road
joy.
bike.
Aye, obliterated it.
So
Yeah,
best wishes to him. Right, Patreon questions. Ryan Garside first. Yes or no answers from both. Can Top Rack beat Johnny Ray to the title this year? I would say it's possible. Like he's riding mega.
No, for me.
No, Dom.
Do you want to see it?
No, I would like. Well, I like.
I'm a huge Johnny Ray fan, but you know what? I'd like to see it come down at the end.
Yeah.
I would love to see a proper fight all the way to the end, and who doesn't?
Yeah.
And part of the as professionals, they'll go, "No, I'd like to piss through this and get my bonus." You know what I mean? There'll be no denying that. But I bet everyone wants a scrap in this game, don't they?
It would be great for the championship to see
would
like
be,
a proper
of
scrap,
course.
wouldn't it?
Yeah.
But and we haven't even mentioned World Superbikes, but that was at Donington. Sorry.
Yeah, it was Top Rack was unreal there. To be fair.
Unbelievable.
And Johnny Ray had a crash. That's very young Jonathan Ray. So, in your opinion, lads, the fast lads of Donington, what did he do? Tip in just outside a bit early, just bump. It was like
I don't know. There is a big bump there, which hasn't been there.
And also the fact that was where Top Rack kept passing people.
Yeah.
So when Johnny eventually got back to the front, I think he had to like put some stern laps in, and
He just pushed it steady. It's an easy mistake to make. It's an easy corner to crash on, and I think.
But like I say, it wasn't anything particularly greedy, naughty, nothing. It was just up and.
But because it's dropped when you come over the top of the hill, because it falls away from you. If you only have to be probably 0.2 mile an hour faster than you should be, and you fall the front, don't you?
when you're on that fine of a limit as well at the front of World Superbikes, the margins are so small that you don't appear to do anything wrong, and you go down. There were some crashes like that in my race from Knockhill as well. Luca Mossi crashed just in front of us. I've watched it back as well. Broke exactly where everyone else was braking, just on the slip road. Wasn't particularly wide or anything, and just took the front.
Yeah.
And it's just one of those things when it's so small. Like everyone's so close to the limit that you don't have to do much wrong to go down. And it's one of them where the punishment doesn't fit the crime as well.
You just think Toprak's got to crash on the brakes eventually.
He's unreal, he? Mind I tell you, I was at
Pirelli's number one man, isn't he, for testing?
I was at Donington on when was it, Thursday? I just did a last minute track day there, and because World Superbikes had been there, they all used the curb on the entry to Foggy S's, so it was like loads of rubber down, and every single person on the track day was using
Were they? I tried to do that one, the World Superbike meeting when we used to have a race, and I crashed and wrote the bike off trying that.
Well, it's difficult because you get that front end judder, but because there was so much rubber down, it just gave the confidence that literally everyone on the track day was running it. Now it's like, whoa, come on. It was good, obviously inspired by World Superbikes, but so that was the first one. And then from Ryan, could Marquez be 2021 GP champion?
We kind of touched on that a little bit, didn't we?
I think he's quite far back in the points, isn't he? But it's not. It is possible because
he could realistically go and win 9 races in a row, and then all of a sudden he is.
Aye. He is a machine, and if anyone can do it, he would be the one. And third, could Super Twins work at BSB support class? I think that's a massive.
My God.
I think they should.
Please, because I know. Please.
I think they need a class between Motor 3 and the Stock 600. It's a big jump for a kid.
God, imagine.
Well, they've got them 400s, but to me,
with their balls.
Yeah. Tom Bufamos was racing it, no limits endurance on one, and they're so slow. I didn't realise they were that slow. Obviously, he's an amazing rider and takes the corners ridiculously fast. But they basically go around the whole track just flat out.
It's the same as the CB 500s when you're on a track day. If they're in the fast.
That'd be a good class for a support class.
Yeah.
It'd be just as. Hey, I tell you what, it'd be just as busy as Stock.
I think the only thing we'll have to do with the Super Twins is try and control how expensive it is.
Aye.
Yeah,
it would have to be proper Super Twins, like standard, really control the scrutiny and everything.
Mm-hmm.
Otherwise, you could spend more on a Super Twin now than what you can on a Stock 1000 bike.
How much is a pattern? I'm trying to remember how much a pattern is. A pattern's like 60 grand.
Because the cost is spiraling out. Like, if you take the Stock 1000 now, to run one of them new BMWs is over £50,000 to get one on the track.
Jesus.
Barry was saying one of his mates has spent over, is it 55 grand?
50 odd grand on a bike to get it on the track.
We were just saying, not long ago, when I first started in Superstock, my bike was competitive, definitely for top 10s, and I think the bike was maybe about 15 grand and ready to race. And you, that's what you were sort of picking second-hand Gen 3s, and they would keep and spend a few grand on them, getting there. In fact, I think that bike was 12 grand. And then I bought front and rear suspension for 1,800 for Tubo, and it was ready for podiums type of thing. Now, to have a bike competitive for podiums, you could not do it.
Well, all the kit electronics on all the bikes are £6,000-7,000, aren't they? And you have to have that now to go fast.
And somebody to be able to work as well.
Well, we even did, our level, we're altering engine brake at every track. You're changing this,
you know your way around a computer, because well,
you have to learn. Because if you don't, you can't go fast enough.
Because you've dug me out when we went to that Donington Park, mate. I'm like, mate, I can't ride. And he opened the laptop and went, how the hell are you riding it? Didn't you? He opened it and went, how the hell are you riding this? I went, I don't know any better.
Yeah.
It is one of those things, though, to be competitive now. It's massively stepped up. And when you think of the build price for each of the top bikes, you'd have to say the cheapest is probably the Suzuki. And Tim Neve's doing a great job. Tim and Luke are doing a fabulous job on that. So that bike's still competitive. Yeah. But all the bikes are just mega expensive. BMs, Kawasaki's. I don't know.
Do you reckon Stock Twins will fill that? What you got there? The Aprilia, the Kawasaki, and the SVs. But the SVs haven't raised their heads at all. But if you could Yamaha thinking about bringing a bike in. Next year, which will be dead interesting.
Well, they're bringing out a 700 Super Sport bike, aren't they? A triple thing.
Right now, if you could have one class to add to the BSB program, or you could take one away and put one in.
A naked class, a flat board one.
That thing that they're running no limits. That thing. What bike is that? A 650? No, what the heck? 900. It's a 900.
Something like that. Something totally different.
That bike looks mint.
They used to race the Harley Davidsons at BSB. There's something totally different in it.
Jeremy McWilliams was always mega on there.
Well, my mate Rob McNeely was fast on the Harley Davidsons as well.
Now, not taking anything away, because I tell you what, Levi Day's been going. Is it Levi Day who stepped up from Ducati? He's flying. He did some crashing, unfortunately. Yeah, you got to push, haven't you?
He was fastest in FP FP1, and then he did have a few crashes, but then I can't remember where he finished he was like 26th in the race, and you know what we're saying about how close it is.
Yeah, it just takes all his weekend was derailed by a crash, and then he's right to the back.
Purely on merit, when everyone was out in FP1, he was the fastest person.
No, that's what I mean though. But you think he stepped up from the Ducati Cup, didn't he? You know what I mean? And that shows very, very good things for the Ducati side of it.
Well, some fast riders in that, because Josh Day is amazing rider.
But you know your naked bike class idea. Would that fall into the same category?
It's just something different class, isn't it?
But you see, the same breath though. You know your Triumph Triple Challenge. Did you follow all the rounds? No, so the Ducati, it's that limitation kind of thing, isn't it? But obviously not all tracks can accommodate all the classes. That's the problem, isn't it? But
I think they do them support classes usually do 10 rounds out of the 12.
10 rounds.
9 out of the 11, something like that.
Because like you say, seeing a naked class that is different to the Ducatis. It's something different. I would definitely. Oh my god, I would love that.
Have you seen?
I would love to do something like that.
Have you seen in America they do the touring things with the panniers?
Well, that's one of their most watched races now, isn't it? Because they race them. Is it called the Baggers or something they call it?
Right,
and they race the big Harley Davidsons.
I'd love to. If there's any American listeners out there, we're available. I'm definitely available. So say you're busy for Stouff Racing. So
a bit of a side note, but do you know on the American scene, do you know the one of the riders? I think he's called Kyle Wyman. His missus does presents the show and stuff. She is absolutely beautiful. She's like literally unreal. It's just called Hannah Loper if you want to check her out on Instagram. But yeah, she's mega. Lauren's there, quickly straight on it.
Have a look at it then.
And then
she's straight on.
Right, next questions. We've got sniffing skid marks, chasing the race and meetup. Still thinking this year.
Definitely.
Dom, any more BSB rounds planned? And Chrissy Northwest, yes or no? That's a no for me for the time being, I would say.
For the time being?
For you, go on.
No, bollocks to that. No, guess to the make. And I would love to do more BSB. There's my answers, but for the time being, it's something potentially on the cards in the future. Then
no, well, you can only answer the question for now, and it's a no. It's a no.
No. Let me give you an example of how it was answered properly. Barry, do you want to do the Northwest?
No.
No. See, that was answered. You actually tiptoed around that.
I won't.
Interesting. Put a pin in that one.
Do you know? You said you would like to do BSB. Is there any more actually planned in, or?
No, just the budget side of it. My God, I would love to though. You know what I mean?
If you could pick one round from now to the end of the season, what would you do?
East Fortune. Oh God, I've no idea. None of them are me stronger than the other.
Thruxton would be, I think, if you were going to pick one.
Why is that then?
Just because
it's
nothing like a road, is it? But it's flat out like.
All the roads lads love Thruxton.
It's flat out. There's not a line, is there? You just have to kind of aim.
On Thruxton's at the same time as Armoy.
It is. On the big bike as well, it's not how fast you can go, it's how well you can conserve your tyre. It's the only...
where you race slow, don't you? You don't go flat out. You have to race just as fast as you're there.
Basically, anyone in the top 20 could definitely lead the race for the first half of the lap because nobody wants to lead. It's like a really weird race.
You don't even go fast the warm lap, do you? Everybody sort of tiptoes round on the warm lap so you don't knock your tyre or anything.
It's a mad race. It's good fun to be in. And about the meetup, I'm getting the wheels in motion. I haven't even spoke to you about this, but I am trying to sort something. I was thinking, how mint would this be? I've actually spoke to a few wheelie schools as well. I'm gonna try and basically pay for a wheelie school and just as a chasing the racing day, and then sort of invite people and we could all go and learn to wheelie and to get loads of people there. But there is a wheels in motion for a meetup, but I will try and sort something. It would be cool if we could have a stopover with a band and whatever, a barbecue.
Barry's in. Look at this. Yeah, smiling away
His
there.
eyes are lighting up. And right, next question we've got Gary Wadlington. I'm gonna have to put my glasses on shortly. We've got, hey guys, question for you both. What is the ultimate realistic goal in motorcycle racing, and has the podcast helped to attract more opportunities for you? Also just want to say fantastic job you're doing with the podcast. I actually look forward to the drive to work on Monday just to listen to the new episode. Keep up the great work and I wish you all the best on and off the track. Realistic ambition in the sport?
I don't know. No, I've always been one of those. I've kept my powder dry on these things. If you know what I mean. It's like I've definitely overachieved to what I've done at the moment. But
Lee Johnson always says that, doesn't he? He's really modest. He always says, like, for the tiny bit of talent I've done really well for myself.
But I'm definitely no Lee Johnson with his. I'm definitely no Lee Johnson, but I've definitely gone over the top.
I'm very much like work on 1 year at a time type of thing, and I don't really like to get too far ahead. So obviously my ambition this year is to try and defend the championship, but then I'd like sort of at the end of the year re sort of establish next year's goals. So
I think that's such a difficult question, isn't it? To a competitive mind, isn't it? Quite frankly, we're never satisfied.
No. Well, you're not, unless you're winning every race by a country mile, you would never be happy.
But even then, like, when you're winning races, you can.
But I think
I want to get that right. I want to get that right. You know, like, oh, if I try this and try that,
your mind. If you won the senior TT,
oh my God, mate,
you'd be like struggling.
But even at our level, you set small goals, don't you? Yeah. It's always like, say, in a BSB weekend for you, winning the race would be it. Cheeky Byrne would never be happy with winning a stock 1,000 race, would he? He'd be foreman, where your goal would be to do that. Where for me, if I finished 10th, that's like winning the race for me.
Yeah.
And same if you could in Supersport the other week, if you get in the top 10, Dom, you'd have been like, it's all different, just personal goals, isn't it?
The very last senior TT, you were probably visually you were probably the happiest person after that result. Because you'd achieved what you'd set out to achieve.
Oh God, but now that's where that's when a sport becomes an addiction. If you know what I mean.
Yeah. But the bar does move.
Of course it does. The bar constantly moves, and the thing is, like you say, I think there's very few people who have actually left the sport going, you know what? Imagine if he said top 10, I'll leave.
But how many people do you know have walked away?
Exactly.
Do you know anyone that's walked away that's been really, truly like satisfied with what they've achieved?
I think everybody walks away either injured and they can't do it anymore,
or very
they
negative.
run out of money, or they hate it.
I'm trying to.
That's the truth. That is the truth. That is the absolute truth.
I don't think there's to be a rider anywhere who said, right, I'm happy with what I've done, I'm going to leave now.
Unless, the rich ones. But
well, not even like Valentino Rossi can't retire, can he?
No.
He's achieved everything anybody could ever imagine.
Do you reckon he should retire?
Yes.
Why? Well,
because I can remember, obviously, I'm old enough to remember when Rossi was unbeatable for years and years and years and years. If you've only been watching MotoGP for 10 years, you'd think Valentino Rossi's a bit shit.
No, but you see, the thing is, you know, my attitude, like, my problem, I've been raised by my father, and my father's, like, I'm not going to say his name because I hope he doesn't watch this period, to be fair, but if he found out, he'd kill us. But, you know, he races bikes for the sheer, he's never going to make make money from it or anything like that. But the only time I've ever seen that man with a smile on his face is when he's in a race meeting. And, like, for me, that is a very branded image in my mind, and my fear is linked to that.
Yeah. And,
like, the thing, and like, there's loads of things about this sport that I don't want to be a part of. That's the truth, you know what I mean? There's loads of things I don't want to do. There's loads of that, but, you know, like I go to work thinking of bikes. You know, I go to work thinking, you do. You know, you go to work going, I need money to go racing.
But Ross, he can't be enjoying himself, can he?
No, but
wherever he is. So what you then want?
No, but you see, but for me, he's still. I'm hoping he is. But why put yourself through the literal shit that he's dragging himself? There's no other way to put it. I don't know Rossi is personally at all to say that.
He's still crushing. He's still taking the risks, isn't he?
That's it. But you think he's got to be enjoying it. He's got to. He's not. He does not need to make more money. No. He might think that differently, but he wants to be out there. Like they've said that to John McGuinness years ago. You should pack in. And the worst thing about human stigma is they put like a label on you, and they put you in a circle and go, you've hit this barrier. Yeah. You should do this. You
just don't want to see them not walk away, do you? Mm-hmm. Like, it would be terrible if like Rossi ended up hurting himself and having to retire. Or if anything ever happened to McGuinness or anything, it would be better if they sort of...
Nah, but that'd be easier for them to accept.
Yeah.
That's the truth, innit? You know what I mean? Yeah. It got taken out my hands.
Yeah.
That's what an injury can do to a man.
Yeah. You've got me racking my brains now, because I'm sure we've had someone on this podcast that's retired and has been really happy with the career and then like enjoyed it after, but I can't think who it is.
Chris Walker, maybe.
Was Stuart
No,
Easton
was it Easton?
Well, Easton again had a bad crash though, didn't he?
Yeah.
No, but you see, Easton's like, no. It was definitely. I know exactly who you're on about. Like, no, I'm happy with what. But you think, but that's the thing. Horses for courses, isn't it? You know what I mean?
Bob Mack.
Could have been wrong.
But it's because we're all addicted to it. I think that's the top and bottom of it all.
Mm-hmm. I'm generally addicted to it. You know, if this was AA, you know, yeah, it is, isn't it? And it's just, you just think, how can I? It's not only how do I stay there. You know, thing is, you can go buy a bike go racing 2-3 times a year and still go racing. That's the truth. But it's about the draw of climbing.
Well, it's as you move, because if you imagine, people will do track days and absolutely like love it, won't they? Because that's what they do. Where for us, because we've raced and raced at a certain level, track days really are, they're not a chore, are they? But it's not like a...
Aye.
You're not absolutely buzzing for going on a track day. You go on one because you feel like you need the practice and you've got the opportunity to go on your bike, but you really look forward to racing.
But that's the thing. But like I asked you at the beginning of the pod, like it was a bit like, would you want to go back to... You like doing the odd club race, like you like enjoy it, but would you go back to chasing championships? You wouldn't.
No.
See what I mean?
Yeah.
It's like, I think the only time I would quit, if they said there's no more TT, I think I would. I would go pit bike racing, or
would you?
I'll tell you what I would do, hands down, straight up. If they said the TT will never ever run again, I'll go motocrossing.
Yeah.
I shit you not. That is as true as I'm standing here. Paul Phillips might pull the plug right now, but like, I would pack in roads, like tarmac the lot.
Yeah.
So do you enjoy motocross more than you would say doing a Thundersport?
100%.
Really?
No, I enjoy Thundersport, but the thing is, I go around there. That's the truth. I'm more intimidated on short circuits because I'm scared of losing the TT. I get on France. I'm very lucky that people have provided me bikes. I think if I bend this bike and I set fire to me and my friend's BM, and that was a very apparent fact of going, that's it. That is it. And we've talked about momentum on this show, God knows how many times. And if you stop that momentum, you're fucking... That to me was like, I pump every fucking penny I've ever had into this, and you just think...
Do you know if for you, in terms of like say a Thundersport meeting or like a Northeast motocross meeting, how would you like enjoy one more than the other?
I don't know. It's been a long time since I raced motocross, so it would be hard for us to kind of tell. And I fell out with love with motocross a long time ago. So
you were chasing championships at the high end.
Yeah.
Me, if I can't get an entry into a C class because it's always full. I get to a B, I'm scrapping around to the back, and you know what? I love it because it's difficult. That's why I like road racing. That's why I like tarmac racing, because I'm not good at it. And I find that obsessive in myself, going, how do I become better at it? And then when you improve, that's like that little, oh, there it is. You look at the top lads and go, fucking hell, they're going 2 seconds quicker. And if I can shave half a second off, then the next time, another half second, another half second. And that's where my draw is. But like for motocross, you turn up, you just drink beer, and you don't have to think about tyre warmers. You know what I mean? You jet wash your bike, man. Like, you know what I mean? Like for road bikes, I remember coming home.
It's more about riding at motocross, I think. You don't have to do much in between the race, do you? Changing air filter, wash your bike.
You're blowing out your bloody bagpipe. It's unreal. You're jumping in the air.
I think the road racing's just harder than people give it credit for, mate. I get arm pump way worse on the superbike than what I do at motocross.
Do you?
Yeah.
Right. That is interesting.
Because at motocross you can ride the bike properly to not have to hang on. Where, how do you not hang on a 1000cc bike? You have to hang on.
The first person that's ever said that, because everyone else says the other way.
Yeah. Oh, no.
And the good thing is, spuff on a motocross bike. You're seriously fast on a motocross.
I not really suffer from much at all. Well, on the road bikes I get it terrible.
Have you had?
No surgery or anything.
Mad that.
Have you ever had arm pump on a bike?
Nah. I can physically feel myself getting tired. Now, you see, that's a problem. When you label something, you think, is it arm pump, is it not? Explain to me.
I don't really physically get tired when I'm racing. Right. You do a little, but you don't fatigue really at all. But my right forearm will pump up so much you can't even pull a front brake on.
Now, is that arm pump?
Yes. Yeah.
That's arm pump.
Like Thruxton's the worst track, I think, for getting it. I get it horrendous at Thruxton, where I haven't even got, like, when you hit full gas, I've only got a hold of my fingers. Don't actually have me palm of my hand on the grip anymore.
What about yourself then? Do you not?
I've
never fatigued on the arms, nothing.
Get tired, but yeah, not specifically arms pumped up. I think I don't think anyway. But just mentioning Thruxton, one of my greatest ever experiences ever on a bike was the first time I raced 1,000. It was the first year on 1,000, 2016. And I came in from the first race and I just had a massive grin ear to ear. And I was just, do you know when you've like seen something amazing and your face is all, you're like in shock and like you just, and first lap, because obviously in practice and qualifying you're sort of by yourself, you might get like a one bike slipstream. but the first lap of the race, there's like about 8 bikes all together. You pick a slipstream, and then as you get to the top of the hill before you brake, all of you, so there's like literally a bike there, bike there, bike there, bike there, bike there. You just, bikes everywhere, absolutely pinned on the limiter in 6th gear going up the hill, and like the noise is like bursting your ear. I wear earplugs, and it was like bursting my eardrums. And when you sit up to brake, you physically, like, you're like struggling to get out of the bubble because the air's going so fast. You sit up, and honestly, I just came in, and it was the rush of adrenaline off doing that. It was just like unreal. Like, do you know, if you could just bottle up that feeling, it was just like, you'll have it all the time road racing, like the Northwest, they've been in the slipstream for that long, and then like pulling out.
Thruxton's the closest race as well, I think, for everyone, isn't it? You go around massive groups and you're all just together.
Aye, and the tyre just goes off straight away, so you literally, if you try not to go sideways because it wrecks the tyre.
Well, by the end, you're just sideways everywhere.
Aye, it is unreal.
What's your favourite track then?
My favourite track, Brands GP, but the best,
and you're not there.
The best track for like what it feels like a ride is Thruxton. I think it's just because it's a one-off, isn't it? It's so different to all.
It is. You can't really test there as well.
It's one of the not easy, but like as long as you just go absolutely flat out, there's not a great deal of technique involved in going fast around it, is it? It's just.
I've had one of the qualifying at Thruxton as well. It was at a time when I was always between I didn't win that year, but I was getting a few seconds, and my worst results would have been about 6, so like in that gap. And I went out for qualifying at Thruxton, and I qualified like 25th or something, and I came in, and like the teams all stood around like, oh, what's up, what's the problem, and like new tyre and everything, and I came in, I was like, that's the fastest that I could have done. I was looking at my name on the timesheet like miles down, and there's literally I broke his legs. I'd like done everything that I sort of could have, but if you don't get the best out the tyre,
and it's the tour game at Thruxton as well, isn't it? The best qualifying I've ever had was there, and I think I qualified 6th or 7th, and it's because I happened to pull out the pit lane just as Matt Truelove was coming round turn 1, and I just tied at the back and got the best tour ever, and like obviously you only have to find a 10th, don't you? And bump right up further the grade. It
is cool. Like, Rita, I've got I think 1 or 2 more questions.
I'll tell you, while you're looking for that, I think it's a bit of a double barrel, but we've heard that Bishop's Court might be coming back on the scene.
Yeah, I'd heard that rumour that they might have Bishop's Court at British Superbike next year.
That would be outstanding.
It would be mega if they could have that.
It would be outstanding.
I do think they need to go to more tracks, because
I've never been to Bishop's
that was
Court.
my next question. It was a bit like, if you're going to pick any track that's not on
Croft.
the calendar. Croft, that was strict. I led that up to quite a big, elegant story, really. There, but no, it would be
I'd have
great.
Croft if I could, like.
Oh, Croft, like.
Only because it's me local.
I was about to say your weapon round there, so there you go.
Where would you say Croft?
To be fair, now that you've planted the seed, it would be good to have Croft there. It would be out slightly, but I don't know. I like me travelling, me. That's like, I want to go to places like Spa. I've never been to Spa. I'd love to go to Spa.
I've raced at Spa before.
Is it any good?
Absolutely amazing, aye. That's probably the best track I've ever rode. A 6-hour endurance race. It's unbelievable.
What 6-hour endurance race?
They do like a Spa 6-hour thing. It's a proper thing.
What time is it on this year?
I don't know whether it is or not. I don't know. I went 2017.
Oh my god, I'm
Amazing.
going to have to do something like that. Because they have the Spa
amazing.
Classic and stuff like that. Like, for God, please, like, if anyone's out there with a classic bike that needs races around there, please.
Whereabouts is Bishop's Court? Like,
Northern Ireland.
Whereabouts in Northern Ireland?
Down Patrick.
Down Patrick at the bottom. It's a bit of a bogey track for me, that.
Is it?
Have you ever been before, Chrissy?
No.
It's very good.
Is that where a Cinetic team test?
Yeah, well, they have a big race there, the Sunflower Trophy.
It's been cancelled. This year, it's been cancelled.
Well,
now.
Christian's got the trophy at the minute. In his living room.
He has, hasn't he? It was absolutely flying around there. But no, they have it at the end of the year, and I think the reason was they didn't want to damage the reputation of the event.
It's a good meeting to go to. They'll have a few from BSB and stuff going. It's mega.
But in my opinion, though, it's totally daft, that, because people are screaming to go racing. People are begging to get there. You can get over, and it's just like, for God's sake,
I think it's good to have some tracks where, like, you get the local specialists at the front instead.
Aye.
Where BSB don't have that anymore, do you? Really, apart from at Knock Hill.
No. Matt, speaking of local specialist, Matt Paolo usually does well at Knockhill.
Yeah.
Did you see me took out Alex Alderson?
Yeah, I
He
did
was
see that.
furious
Yeah,
as
Alex
well.
wasn't very happy about that.
They zoomed in on the tape. You can't lip read what he's saying.
Some handbags going on in
You
the
can
gravel.
imagine it.
Wait, Alson's another. Bless him. He's had some. He's knocked on death's door a few times. I think one more crash. Well, not one more, but you know what I mean. He's.
I think he'll get back there. That
No,
bike
no,
is-
no. Oh no, not noticed. He can ride a bike. He'll be up. He is at the front. That's the truth of it. He's absolutely at the front. But I tell you what, from what he has gone through,
Just the fact that he's riding.
that's what I
is
mean.
amazing,
And at the level he's at is just mental.
There's a picture of him dropping down turn one with a massive flame coming out of his. It looks absolutely mega like. But yeah, he's a class rider, Alex. Right, 2 more questions. Ted the Head. Congratulations, Chrissy, on your podiums at Knockhill. Useful points. Looks like it's going to be a very challenging title defence in a mega competitive field, which is what we've just been saying. Did you have a little grin on your face when T-Mac went down in front of you in the second race? Good luck for Brands. I'm there for the weekend with some mates. Hope to meet you and Dom at some point, depending on the bloody annoying COVID rules. Cheers, Ted the Head. Look forward to catching up at Brands. On the thing about Taylor, as a
Come
I
on,
don't, I
be
don't
honest.
know.
Don't lie and say no.
Don't lie.
No,
Don't lie.
Everybody chuckles.
Do you know what?
if someone falls off in front
I
of
don't
you.
know if you've got the same thing, but we've
Yes.
since I started racing, it's just been like a golden rule. Like you never like it's between me and Dad.
Yeah.
Never ever glow at other people's
No,
I
no.
think you
But
don't,
if
but
they
in
crash
your
in
head.
front of you, you can have a little chuckle. You're like, ah, yes.
And honestly, I've found that when I first started racing, before I sort of came up with that golden rule, it always came round to bite us. So
Yeah.
I just never do it, and it's
calm as a
it was
bitch,
me.
innit?
It was me the week before at Open Park, and
Yeah.
it's one of them things. So you'll never ever see us do it. Like I promise. And to be fair, Taylor was like untouchable until
wasn't he?
that point.
Yeah.
He'd won every race, and he looks great on the
It was
bike.
a shock to see that, watching it on the telly. It was like,
Yeah.
But it showed
what the
how
hell's
fast
happened?
everybody was going, I think.
Exactly,
Because he
yeah.
had to ride that
Well,
hard to pull away.
he'd passed me, and I was right up his chuff. And to be honest, I was enjoying sort of just. It's sometimes quite difficult to lead when there's a big group of you because you're like there's basically I think you're working harder when you're leading. So when Taylor came past, I was sort of sat behind him for a few laps, and I was really enjoying it. There was one part of the track he was a bit stronger, and there was one part I was a bit stronger. But yeah, when he did crash, to be fair, he ran really deep through the left and then was tight for the right-hander. But like you say, everyone's just so close to pushing. Fraser, who won the second race,
which is mint. He was that was a great win.
He was
to
winning
watch
that race, like.
yeah.
Yeah.
And Tim crashed just behind me, last corner, last lap, same as what I did at Alton. It's the worst feeling in the world because you've done all the hard work, and from where he was on the grid, he'd had a mega race. But yeah, if you think about it, like from last, there's a lot of the top riders have crashed now.
Yeah.
There's only Billy that's actually stayed on and got a podium in each race. So
And he's leading it, isn't he?
He's leading the championship at the moment, and he's riding as
He
good.
looks
as
good.
He's
Yeah.
riding as good as I've
Yeah,
ever
very
seen
good.
him. So yeah, it is like mega competitive. And there was one more question. Good, thanks for the question, Ted the Head. And last question, which is Daniel O'Brien. Great stuff. First up, congratulations, Chrissy, on your double podium at Knockhill. 2 questions. First, same as last week, your 60-year-old sat in front of the fire, sipping a brew, looking back at your career. Which would you prefer, multiple World Superbike world titles, or a good run at MotoGP, few wins but never a title hunt, or just for Dom, a handful of TT wins versus MotoGP? For you, I take it would be TT.
To see him done the MotoGP, but no, every time winning the TT, that is.
If they're both retired right now, who do you think would be most satisfied? Jonathan Ray or Cal Crutchlow?
Crutchlow, I would think.
Do you?
I just think it's not fair, but
He's
Johnny
won-
Ray's
he's won
going
at
to retire
MotoGP.
with that mark on his name that he never went there, isn't he?
He went there, but it didn't go in the
Well,
depth. No, yeah.
I
yeah,
think
know
if
what
you
mean.
look back at Johnny Ray when he had a go at MotoGP, no one had done it had he actually done much better than what they thought he should have done. Because if you think everybody else who has a go, they're right at the back, aren't they? Where
See-
he had like a 6th or something.
A couple of 6, yeah.
See, the
He
thing
did deserve a shot.
He 100% deserved a shot, and that, like the thing is, right? I've always had the attitude I'd rather be at the back of the top class.
Yeah.
That's my, you know what I mean. So like the TT for me is the top class. That's the thing. So winning a TT would be outstanding. But imagine just sitting there in the pub and Weatherspoons and Hexham going, I can't. Do you know what the MotoGP is? And everyone from Hexham goes, no. I'd be like, well, I'm going to tell you about the MotoGP. I've raced it. Imagine saying that
Yeah.
to people, you know what I mean?
It's
But
good.
winning a TT... But
The TT is probably the most famous race.
That's what I mean. Everyone's heard of the TT,
Yeah.
though. Everyone has heard of the TT. And to say you've won, like, you know, I've been very lucky that I've won a race around the mountain course, but, you know, to win a TT...
Because generally the general public only know who Valentino Rossi is. Really.
TT's big minded.
Where the TT, everybody knows what it is.
Do you know if you interviewed, like, say, 10,000 random people in the country, and if they asked who Johnny Ray is, Peter Hickman is, or say like John McGuinness is probably
John McGuinness would be the biggest hitter.
biggest hitter at TT, or Cal Crutchlow, who do you think's the most famous out of them three?
Well, they
John
would
McGuinness.
pick
To
the
the
TT
average
one
public.
all day long, yeah.
John McGuinness.
Yeah.
John McGuinness?
Aye. It's mad, isn't it?
Yeah. But I think it's just because it gets mainstream TV coverage, though.
No, I don't think it's because
And it's obviously mental as well, isn't it, too?
But it is. That's the truth. It's the oldest, fastest race in the world.
Because,
Isn't
like,
it?
I always remember, like, my girlfriend said it when she watched it on the TV, it looks like we're going dead slow.
Right.
Well, obviously, if you watch the TT, it doesn't look like that, does it?
No.
Do you know when British Superbikes was on BBC, everyone knew who, like, John Reynolds and Michael.
I think it does
Rutter
make
was.
more of a difference than you think, you know, the fact that it's on...
100%.
Like, obviously, Base B's on Eurosport, MotoGP's on BT Sport.
Mm-hmm.
When it's on... The TT's on ITV4.
MotoGP's much smaller as a sport in this country since it was on BT Sport as opposed to when it was on BBC. Because if it's on BBC, most people are in on like, say, a Sunday afternoon and just flick through the channels. And if it's on either 1, 2 or 3, you would probably just check it out anyway.
Yeah.
So there's loads of casual fans end up watching it, and therefore, like, people just know how everyone's getting on.
Yeah.
But yeah, the sport's definitely smaller than what it was, I think.
But they made some big changes for the TT, man. And I'm looking forward to the live coverage side of it because ITV, to be blunt, the coverage is pretty. It's crap.
I presume
It's crap.
The reason, like, why there's been one of them being logistic because it's so massive, but one of them is obviously if something goes wrong at the TT and they're covering it live.
I know, but
how's that working?
No, but you see, not even that side of it. But they'll have like delayed views and stuff like that. But I think it's more like TSL time side of thing, like speed traps and then everything like that. I think that's more live coverage on that side of things. But I think the ITV side of it is when BBC run the Northwest and BBC ran the Ulster Grand Prix, it was a race meeting. You know what I mean? They actually went through the grids and like talked about the race and how's this going, how's that. It was actually a proper race meeting. But ITV, it's you look, if you're not in the top 5, it's like the rest of the world don't really know. To the rest of the world, I think there's only 5 people racing it, and you think it's crap. That's my opinion.
This last question's a mega one. So it's still from Daniel O'Brien. He said, with the government announcing that no petrol engine motorcycles to be sold from 2035
That's the
onwards,
day I'm leaving Earth.
how do you see the motorcycle racing paddock going? Electric has failed to capture this fans. TT0 ended up a flop and Moto E has dismal viewing figures. Is it a case of electric, like it or lump it, or do you think hydrogen fuel cells could save the day? And lastly, to you both of you, a massive thanks for the show. It really has helped me get through the lockdowns and give me something to look forward to week by week. Keep up the good work, lads. So thanks very much. Great question. Electric bikes.
We're going to have to just accept it, don't we?
Do you think?
They said that. Right, think about it, like horse racing.
What about it?
Not the horse racing. Thing is, horses became obsolete. You know what I mean? We use them for commercial use. We use them for racing. The horse was the be all and end all. Horsepower, for God's sake. The cars were just starting to come in, and then we started to get a bit more, and then that became the new race age. That became the more commercialised side of it. Electric, Duracell, Bunny, Ran vehicles. They are the future. They produce more power. They're more efficient, blah, blah, blah. They are eco-friendly, all that crap. They're a big fire hazard, but everyone kind of scoops over that issue. But the one thing they're never going to replicate.
Well, for us, though, because we love it, like, we're purists somewhere. Like,
We are pure.
the sound of a motorbike is the best thing ever.
The smell, the atmospherics, the combustion, everything about it. A horse doesn't do
It moves
that.
on, though, doesn't it? Like, I obviously raced motocross when it all started changing from 2 strokes to 4 strokes. And everybody used to twist about 4 strokes are crap and they don't sound the same. 2-stroke racing was unreal and it sounds amazing. But if you wait at 5 years and rode a 4-stroke versus a 2-stroke, the 2-strokes are then shit. So you think might that happen with an electric? Because the electric bikes, they'll get them so that they're ridiculously fast.
No, but you see,
And what might happen is if the technology moves forward, the electric bikes will be that good to ride. you might come back and ride a combustion engine bike and it'll be rubbish.
No, I totally agree. I think the sport will never ever die. But the thing
I
is,
hope not.
No, but this sport, the motorcycle racing, depends on bike sales.
Yeah.
It really does. You know, that is the future. Like, that's why car racing, it was like, who's got the most competitive vehicle? Let's go buy one of those. Sex sells, and that's what racing is, isn't it? It's like sexy. Let's get it out there. But like, the problem with like the TT flop in that question, the TT flop solely becomes from Mugen. Mugen are owned by Honda. Now, to be fair to them, they went in balls deep and it was fantastic. You know, they developed a £1 million bike and put another £1 million. What would make the TT0 outstanding is if Mugen put 50 or 10.
Well, that's what made it worse with the TT0 was it was them.
2 bikes.
Then there was some bike that somebody had built in their shed.
Aye.
With a little, and it wasn't
Like,
a race, really, was it? It was
like,
just a show, wasn't it?
Daly Matheson, he, like, you know, God rest his soul, but like, he put so much development with Nottingham University. You know, they were the privateer team and they were on the podium.
Well, if you watch that documentary with Rob Barber and that in it about the first electric bike, and it's all just a bit of like.
I mean, it looked scrap. Not them, but I meant the whole idea and everything like that. But it's to make racing work, you need to be competitive.
Yeah.
Here's a classic case. Who's currently leading the Moto E Championship?
Not a clue.
Who's the top 3? Nobody.
No.
What about an F1?
They've got some top names, like big teams, big famous names. But and even if the racing was mega close, there's something about it which is just not right.
Well, I honestly hope we're totally wrong and it doesn't happen. But
the only positive
when
that I
you're
can
sitting
think
at
of
home-
is a lot of the problems that we've got with track days is noise restrictions. So if it's like you can,
sadly,
because if you had a bike that didn't make any noise, it'd be fine, wouldn't it? You could ride every day.
the future is electric. But the thing is, right, when you're sitting down at home, you're on the computer doing catching up and work and everything like that, you have the window slightly cracked on a hot day like this, you hear a motorbike, what do you do?
But we think it's great. So like I live at the minute in my estate, they ride motorbikes on the other side of the river. I think there's nothing wrong with that. On the Facebook group for the estate, it is just constantly people are kicking off about the noise of the bikes. Well, if I had my window open and heard a church bell, I would be on the phone to the church going, "Will you bugger off?" Doing that all the time. You don't hear it, do you?
Every hour you're taking the piss.
Like, noise is subjective, isn't it? What we don't think is noise. I would love to live next to Silverstone and hear motorbikes go around every day.
But it would just the thing they're never going to replicate is atmospherics.
For me, Whit mentioned this, I think either on the podcast or the show, but electric motorcycles, they're effectively, instead of burning the fuel on site, they're effectively plugging it in and burning it off site. At the moment, like 95% or whatever, it comes from fossil fuels. And until they get that problem sorted, I cannot see racing
But already
bikes.
though, petrol's changing, isn't it? Soon. And
Yeah.
you can't put you can't put that petrol in a motorbike. You have to check whether it goes in your car.
Aye. I'll have to give a shout. Is your classic team sponsored by that race fuel, or do you just buy it?
No, classic fuel solutions, but I think that's a full on, like, run it in fucking Hitler's car or something like that. I think it's proper fuel. You know what I mean? It goes like
4-star.
It goes proper, like, I mean, that fuel, like, I remember putting fuel unleaded, like a regular stuff out there, and put it in the bike, and I did a parade on it. I went, fuck, this flat as fuck. They put this classic fuel solution in. Jesus wept.
Do you think
Well, that's how KTM found all the speed of MotoGP, didn't they? You know how KTM now break the top speed records? They developed their own fuel.
Right.
And that's how they found a load of top speed, aye.
There we are.
Now, do you think one day it'll be like say if they banned all things and they came round and the government collected all the engines, and if you could store one away and it could be like a secret to get an engine out and give it a blast.
Yeah.
I hope that day never ever comes. I'm an optimist, and I think we'll be racing.
An alternate fuel, yeah.
I think we'll be racing in a different fuel, but on a noisy, loud, like motorcycle as we know it.
Yeah.
I
hope you're right.
Yeah,
I'm hoping I am checked out by then.
Yeah.
I mean,
Well, we will be. I think all of us will be finished.
I really hope we're permanently checked out by that point. You know,
I would still love a corner one, mate, just to see what they're like.
Oh no!
Just out of curiosity.
Oh no!
I
I
would
told
love
you,
to
if someone
have a
said to me, "Do you want to go race this weekend on it, like on a zero bike?" I'm like, 100%.
Yeah. Just to see what they're like, because obviously they've got no
100%.
gears or anything, have they?
Twist and go.
Front and rear brakes are on the handlebars like a push bike.
I wonder what the high side dream's going to be like. You know when you get that,
Well, you wouldn't know, would
you
you?
know, but like on this thing, it'll be.
Because that's always the first time you know you've high-sided, isn't it? When you
It's the noise, the engine note. It's that engine note. You're like,
That combined
oh my
with
God.
all the like electronics and stuff, you would basically be able to make it so it's like it could basically ride itself more or less. So
Oh,
it's
dude.
not gonna. I think it's a race to the bottom myself. Like I hope it's just
Yeah, I hope you're
stay
right, yeah.
combustion engines and long
Long
live two
live the
strokes. But aye. Anything else to wrap it? Oh, I'll tell you what, me dear dad, he bought a few of these ages ago, and I use mine every single day at work. It's like my prized possession, and he's kindly donated one for a giveaway. So we've got these Chasin the Racin beautiful Parker pens engraved with Chasin the Racin. If you can see that on the YouTube. And so if you comment on this video, have we got anything to comment? Anything like from the like suggestions? I tell you what, which track, we're talking about tracks for BSB. If we could pick any track in, should we say in Europe or in the British Isles?
It's got to be British Isles.
British
isn't it?
Isles. So
Yeah.
in the British Isles, any track that's not currently a BSB track, comment below and you'll have a chance of winning this beautiful Chasin the Racin Parker pen. And I think there's only me, you, and me dad in the world that have got them.
Yeah.
So pretty rare. And
There's no way you write with a Parker pen.
Oh, I do.
keeps it in a special work file.
I'm old school, baby. I'm old school. Yeah, I'm
And-
proper old school.
Have you got anything to wrap things up?
No, nothing from me, I think.
And
I can't wait to see you back in a BSB paddock once you get.
I know, I hope so.
get-
Soon
get-
as possible.
Good lad. No, it'll be good to see you back out there. Can't wait, man. Can't wait.
obviously, thanks for joining us. It's,
No, thank you.
What we're on now, I think it's over 2 hours we've been chatting away.
Jesus,
Talking
wept.
rubbish.
Right,
Aye.
there we go then.
So,
there we
and
go. So big,
After Brands, by the time this goes out, it'll be just after Brands, and obviously you're off to Armoy.
Yes,
so
indeed.
Very best of luck for there, mate. And
thank you very much, and thanks to our patrons and our sponsors, Colchester Kawasaki, for a cracking show. And here we go.
Stouff for the cat.
Stouff. Just Stouff chucked
I'll
in there.
take care. See you in a bit.
Thank you. Cheers.
Click, buy, deliver. With remote purchasing from the two-time Motorcycle News Dealer of the Year, Colchester Kawasaki. Proud sponsors of Chasin the Racin.